Gather around, freaks. It's Thursday night. You know what that means? It's time to gather around the entire internet. The internet's gathering around the entire Hey, Did You See This One? Here on Twitch Live. And I have one question and one statement to say to you before we get going here. And it's, if you must blink, do it now.
In a world where creativity is buried and dead, a mysterious movie studio lies in waiting, tinkering away with the tools used for captivating audiences, with heartwarming stories crafted through the exquisite art of stop-frame animation. It's time to take your first steps, or perhaps revisit them, on a whimsical journey where the magic of this unique technique unfolds, immersing you in a world of wonder and enchantment and shadow. But amidst the captivating visuals, when the world seems dark and life feels like a heavy raincoat, Hey, Did You See This One? Reminds you to slow down and take things frame by frame.
Oh my goodness, it's another episode of Hey, Did You See This One? Hello, welcome. This is the show. It's Thursday. It's episode 125. It's episode 125.
That's so many episodes.
So many episodes. Steve's been here now for 111 of them. The guest that
Whoa, 111.
Oh, the big one. I think that's quick maths.
Yeah.
I think that's quick math. We are here. It is frame by frame. Did you like this one? A sort of dive into Leica Studios. This month we talked about Paranorman. We talked about Missing Link. We talked about the third one that I'm blanking on right now. Steve, help.
Coraline?
Coraline.
I almost called it Caroline, like
Caroline.
all the plebes in the movie.
Yeah. And
she'll haunt you now.
Yeah.
And this week we're talking about Kubo and the Two Strings. What an incredible movie. And we are joined this week by a brand new guest. 100% brand new, off the presses, ladies and gentlemen.
A fresh guest has arrived.
This is Tatiana Ramos. I did it. I botched it, I think. Ramos.
I think you did it right.
You got it right. There's just a pause.
Yeah. Oh.
Honestly, that's a sweet name.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I believe that you've been booked. You're one of those guests that we have had booked for like a year also.
Yeah. Steven would reach out quite often, and then it would never quite like pass that finish line.
No, it's perfect. I think you're here for a great movie. I texted you like right after I finished watching it to let you know that I was crying. And we had never met in person before, so I think
finally got Jason to cry.
Yeah,
it only took 124 episodes.
I don't think I got a little misty at parts of Coraline, I think, but it wasn't so memorable. So this week, this is a special episode. I think it's gonna get a little heavy, so get ready for
let's
that.
Let's all cry live on Twitch.
On this comedy podcast. This is, of course, a review, reaction, comedy, analyzation podcast that we do each and every week. To start things off, though, each week I put up, on Monday and Tuesday, I put up a part of the movie poster, and I have people guess on the internet. And would you know it? People do it. People come along and they say, hey, I think I know what that is. Basically answering the question, hey, did you see this one, as a yes? And this week, much like the previous weeks, we had a lot of people, to the point that I had to stop, not do it on, I still did it on Tuesday, but I didn't push it as hard. I think sometimes I put up a part of the poster that is too obvious because I'm afraid that people aren't going to get it from this little piece of the moon back here. So
it's just the white screen.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
A single bird.
Yeah.
I mean, there are significant birds in every one of these Leica movies. So maybe that is the way to go. But this is the fan guessing game. This is the fan guessing game.
Congratulations! You have successfully guessed the correct answer, which is the answer you provided. Congratulations!
Congratulations! Everybody heard that, right? I'm so paranoid now that nothing's working. This week, oh, cool. A SEO scammer just messaged me on Facebook, so I'm going to give them all our money so we can get more views. I'm not going to do that. So this week, we had mostly podcasters who have their own podcasts come out of the woodwork. Mostly new people. Movies by TV. So this is funny. So it used to just be Movies by Doug. He's a person I'm in a podcasting group with on Facebook to sort of promote our show. It used to just be Movies by Doug, but now it's Movies and TV by Doug. So Doug has evolved in the last couple weeks. What was that sound? There was a sound. He wanted to say... he just wanted me to say, just for people to enjoy movies, enjoy the way movies make you feel, which is apt for this one because I felt a lot of feelings that my cold, dead heart hadn't felt in quite some time.
He's done it, folks. He's finally felt genuine human emotion from a motion picture.
My heart grew exactly one size, not 3 or 5 like the old Grinch. Additionally, we have Jonathan Phoenix. He wanted us to let everybody know that he has a podcast, but he didn't give us the name. He gave us a link that I'll link in the description, but I'll do that for you, Jonathan. Also, the Back of the Cereal Box podcast got it right this week, which I think is a great name for a podcast. They do 80s and 90s cartoons and movies, I believe, so check them out. They said masterpiece. Masterpiece.
I agree.
Melissa Lieber of the Ouch, Was That a Ghost podcast. Just when I told them that they got it right, that said, lol, yay!
An honest reaction.
Exactly.
Sounds like something a ghost might say.
They do a spooky ghost stories podcast. And friend of the show, former guest of the show, fan of the show, fan of this game, never gets it right, but always has a great
oh god, I know who it is.
Always has a great, I guess I wouldn't say parody because I don't know what this is a parody of even. Matt Philp, put your kids to bed for this one and cover your ears if you're the fan of heart. He guessed, this is a doozy, Falcon Penis 4. This time it's anime.
I've seen that
Animated.
one.
Yeah, he was
Similar
close,
poster.
but
Congratulations! You have successfully guessed the correct
It's
answer.
playing on its own also. I
Which
think
is-
this
Oh my
God.
podcast is haunted.
The answer
How
you
did that
provided.
go?
Congratulations!
What did I hit that played that on its own?
I think you summoned it by provoking the name of ouch, it's a ghost or whatever.
Oh my god. Yeah. So this time it's an anime. It's Ghost Penis 4. That was the correct movie guesses. Additionally, as I have to do because, you know, we're trying to get people to listen to this. If you are listening right now, if you're watching or listening, whether you're in the chat on Twitch, if you're from the future and you're listening to this down the road, please go ahead and follow us. You can find us on most social media at Hey Did You See This One? We're on Instagram pretty prominently, Facebook, Twitch every week at 8 o'clock Eastern. I just want to let everybody know that we actually hit a major milestone this week, okay? 1,000 followers on
Yay.
Twitch. 1,000. And what were you going to say?
I said that's the reason it took me so long to join. I told Steven, you got to hit 1,000 to get me.
Or I'm not coming on, yeah.
That's what I figured, honestly. And also, I did the math. We're at 1,009 right now, actually. And I did the math. It was real hard math to do. It took me all of 10 seconds to figure out who the 1,000th follower is. And they are a user by the name of Matthew Lovinger Gaming. And I messaged him and I said, in all caps, you're our 1,000th follower. And he said, I'm glad I could help. So
enthusiastic. Thanks, Matt.
thank you.
You could have said lol yay.
I wish that he had, because that would be a little less anticlimactic. And also, as always, shout out to White Bat Audio. The music that you heard in the pre-show, of course, that goes away pretty quick. But we do use White Bat Audio each and every week for that pre-show segment. There is that music we were listening to in the pre-show is new, and it's called like Hypno Wave or something, like dark wave. And I listened to it while I was preparing, and then played it again while we were having the countdown. And man, it's good. It's a good one. So White Bat Audio, shout out. And I guess with that, we're gonna move on to some director talk. How about that? How about a little director talk?
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit.
Sound, speed,
Action!
This is, of course, the segment of the week where we talk about the director. It's pretty straightforward stuff. We have a new director for this one, right? This is all...
I mean, Travis Knight, who is the CEO of Leica Studios. So he has been involved in all of these movies, but he's not directed one front to end alone. This is the first one.
So is he the one that did the sort of hostile takeover of Leica in the first place?
No, he created Leica. He didn't hostily take it over. He created it. But he headhunted a lot of the talent that existed in the stop frame animation world, and he built the studio with Daddy Warbucks' money.
True.
But, not all nepotism is bad. He's created a beautiful work of art in Kubo and Coraline and The Missing Link and Paranorman and Box Trolls.
And do you know what else he directed, Steve and Tatiana? Do you know what else?
Why don't you tell us?
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee the movie.
The movie Bumblebee, the prequel to the Transformers.
Which actually isn't that bad.
I hear it's fine.
It's better than most of the Transformers movies. I'll say that much.
This movie's rated
I've
higher.
only seen one Transformer movie, and it's the one with Rosie Huntington. The one that's married to Jason Statham.
Right.
I think that's a later Transformer movie. It's not good.
No. What was the gimmick? Was it...
what's the highest praise you can
was
give
there
any
a knight in
Transformers
it?
movie?
Were there robot dinosaurs? Was there...
She looked beautiful. That's all I can say is she looked stunning through like every moment of that movie.
So Megan Fox was no longer in the movies, so it's got to be like the fourth one on. Was Shia LaBeouf still in them?
Yeah.
Did she turn into like a robot person?
That would be cool, right? Like your little
cyborg.
Yeah, I remember bits
I
and
wish I had more
pieces.
information for you. No, nothing. Bumblebee and Kubo are his.
That's it.
It's two movies, yeah.
Interesting.
But I think the reason that he doesn't like direct that much is because he's also the CEO of the company, right? He's probably got a lot of other stuff to do. But this movie also felt like weirdly personal and like very heartfelt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's clearly good at it. Like if he made this movie, he should make more. I know there is another Leica movie coming out next year, and I'm not sure if he's directing or if he's just producing or writing or, you know. But I mean, we've talked about Travis Knight in every episode of the show this month so far, so we don't need to go too far into it. But I do think it's worth noting that this is, you know, the first one of his projects that he's had so much involvement in that he directed. And I don't know, I think some people might consider this the best Leica movie. I don't know if I've fallen that category yet. I don't know. I watched it today and I was like, this movie rules. This movie really rules. And I was crying and I
sobbing.
My heart was
sobbing.
Here's a first for
swelling.
the show. I'm going to reveal this to you now, and it's going to blow your freaking mind. But I watched this. Actually, you know what? This isn't the time. We're going to go on to our brief history, and then I'll blow your mind. How about that?
Okay.
So do you have anything else to add about Travis Knight, the director of this film? We pretty much covered
I mean, we've gone
You're
through
right.
it all. If you guys want to hear more, you can listen to our previous episodes in the Leica series.
Yeah, all 9 hours of them. That's right. So now we're going to talk about our brief histories for the movie Kubo and the Two Strings.
A brief history.
It is, of course, a tradition around here, a time-honored tradition to give our guests the first opportunity to give their brief history. So, Tatiana, tell us about your history with this film, and also if you have any little, any little facts to pepper in on that as well, if you got anything. But basically, when's the first time you saw this movie, and how did it make you feel?
So, in all fairness, I had not seen a single Leica movie at all. And then when Stephen was giving me the option of which one to choose, and he described Kubo, I was like, I do love any stories based in kind of that mythology style realm. So it was my first time watching Kubo. I double featured it with my first time watching Coraline. And I haven't done Missing Link and Paranorman yet, but I will because I was blown away by both. So yeah, I was sobbing by the end. I actually did not believe that it was stop motion. I was like, there's no way. They've got to have like a mixture of both. But no, I watched a lot of behind the scenes videos to be like, you need to prove it to me. Like, you need to show me the steps. But yeah, absolutely incredible. And I literally, after watching the movie, I messaged Stephen and I just said, thank you. Thank you for like getting me to watch this. It was amazing.
Yeah, my wife has walked in while I was watching at least 3 of these, and every time she goes, this is stop motion?
I know.
And I'm like, yes.
And then a record scratch happens in the background. Like,
watching like
what?
how they make the puppets and everything too was just astonishing. I was just like, wow, the amount of effort and work that needs to go into every single scene, every frame is unbelievable.
I think that this movie in particular and The Missing Link, those 2 movies have very extensive and interesting and worthwhile behind the scenes footage stuff that you can watch of how they animated a bunch of the stuff, because it's evolving as they grow as a studio, that every project they do becomes more and more impressive, and the harder it is for you to believe that it is stop frame. But then you watch just like a sped up version of a person animating monkey doing a roll or something, and you're like, holy shit, that took probably 4 days for that one roll.
Finding out that the skeleton was actually like 8 feet tall.
8 feet tall.
Yeah.
It was 16 feet tall,
16
wasn't
feet
it?
tall.
Yeah.
I think I was reading that it was like still like one of the largest puppets I think in existence, like built or animatronics or whatever it's considered. Yeah, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
Blown away. I actually I will watch it again. I think this is going to be one of the things that I put myself through annually.
It is kind of, it's emotionally draining, but it's also very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you've only watched it once, watching it a second time, your mind is open to a whole new idea of what the movie and the story is, and you're already privy to what the reveals are later on. So there's even more emotional impact from specific moments that you're not aware of yet. Yeah.
Steve, why don't you give us your brief history?
I saw this movie in theaters. Yeah. Well, I mean, I love stop frame animation. I
No,
always
but
have
I'm
since I
like
was a boy.
jealous of
It
you.
was quite an experience. The sound design in this movie is excellent, and seeing it in a theater with, ear busting speakers was worth it. Even just the opening alone, I was already like, oh my God, this movie's gonna rule. When he's like, if you have to blink, do it now. I'm like, oh my God, that's like saying if you have to pee, you should have done it already. Like, holy fuck.
You look at
Um,
your large size drink at the theater and you're like,
yeah.
I've made a mistake.
And I'm just like blinking wildly at it. Just like, um, yeah, but I saw it in theaters the first time and I loved it, but then I kind of time went by and I didn't watch it or even think about it again for a very long time, because it's one of those movies that it didn't get put on streaming for years after it was released. And at this point, I was like trying to get rid of all physical media in my life. I was really trying to like micro live, like only have the essentials so I could pack a backpack and leave at any moment kind of thing. So I didn't buy it on Blu-ray or anything. And then one day it came on, I think it was Netflix. And I just sat down and I watched it with on a date night, and it was very nice. It was a great date night to, have somebody who I'm not fully comfortable with weeping next to me while I'm also weeping. That was an interesting date. Um, and then I didn't watch it again until yesterday. So I've only seen it 3 times. I should probably watch it more times. It's wonderful.
Are you ready to have your mind freaked?
My mind's gonna get freaked. I thought I was gonna get blown. I was preparing for a blown mind.
Freaked and blown. Not only, this isn't new. I watched this in one sitting. I couldn't put it down kind of thing. Tatiana, I have this thing where sometimes I'll watch movies in as many as 3 parts because my attention span is so messed up from TikTok and video games and everything that I can't do it. I try, and then you get this one happening. Right? So this one, I was like, Tuesday night, I'm watching it. I'm going to watch it. And I was immediately from the beginning of the film, when he starts telling the story, I started to like well up because I like Japanese folklore stuff so much, and the music, right, and the instrument. What's that instrument called? I'm gonna look it up.
Shamisen, I think.
Right.
Am I right?
It is, yeah. It's a shamisen.
Shamisen.
Okay.
So that instrument I love. I love that plucking sound and the tonka drums. I love all that stuff. It sounds so good to my ears and my brain. It scratches some itch. I think it's because I was like raised on like anime and like JRPGs and stuff, right? Like that's my shit. Like Final Fantasy. This, I'll get into it a bit, but this was like, this could be like a Final Fantasy story a little bit. Steve hates it when I do that. Also,
no, I don't hate it. It's predictable.
It's predictable.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, there's more to it than that. At any rate, I watched it again today. I watched it a second time. This is the first time ever. This is the first time ever. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. First time ever I watched a movie twice. Our old co-host who left the show, he would watch the movie sometimes 3 or 4 times before. And I couldn't do it. A lot of the times, I'm just like, I'm good. I saw it. It's in my head. But this time, I was like, I cannot wait to put that on while I do work tomorrow and just absorb it all over again.
It's visually like beautiful. Like every scene is so stunning. So yeah, it's nice to have the music's really nice in the background too.
Exactly.
The soundtrack for this movie is worth just having on as well. I use it in D&D a lot. I've used it in a few of my recordings for D&D. There's like a specific character that is just the Kubo soundtrack every time they show up. It's like that sort of like trilling music that happens every time a new scene breaks. That's their character intro, and that's like the sign of a great soundtrack for me if I could connect it to one specific character.
And that Regina, like none of these movies have had like a title track, like a an actual musician doing a song, but this has Regina Spektor doing a cover of George Harrison's "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," but it's got the shamisen over it, but it's got like the Japanese flair, and it's a really like.
Shouldn't have been my shamisen gently.
I don't know if the words fit. Also, the lyrics don't make any sense for the movie either. But that's okay. Oh man. I'm already getting a little.
Oh, Jason's gonna cry.
At any rate, I guess that's our brief history. Do you know what? We do director talk after brief history, so we're already moving on to the body of the episode. Are you ready to see this body walk down the catwalk, friends?
I don't know.
Ho, 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 ho! Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
You know, that sting feels gendered, but, you know, it could be literally anybody.
I mean, in my mind, it's a handsome man.
In my mind, it's a handsome woman.
I see, like, you know, like the hippo in Madagascar.
Right, yeah.
Like, I see a body.
Like a real voluptuous body.
Yeah.
The hippos from Fantasia.
Yeah. Similar, yeah. No, I just see like a film reel like slithering down a runway like a snake. And
That's really cool.
It's making different body shapes all shapes and sizes.
We're doing excellent work here tonight.
I think this is a whole new segment now. It's just recordings of Steven, and then we all close our eyes and describe what we see.
A lightning round of all the stings, and and like you said,
what do you picture? Yeah,
which you have to make another sting for, which is like, what do you picture?
It's just a never-ending loop.
Yeah,
no.
That's fantastic. So, I didn't write a lot of notes for this because this movie is kind of an action movie at its heart. So
it's also got horror elements. It's an adventure film. It's all sorts of stuff, man, wrapped into one. It's great.
Normally, like a movie, for whatever dumb reason, I'll take some hour-and-a-half movie and just take 4 pages of notes. But I think that this one is a little different, where there's these giant swaths of just like animation, right? Mm-hmm. Where I'll kind of just mention what happens scene for scene, but I didn't have to write a lot because I knew there was going to be no problem talking. Mm-hmm. I don't know how this is going to play out. Normally, Tatiana, if you've never seen the show, I basically go like beat by beat through the movie, and sometimes it gets very long-winded, but this hour and 40-minute movie isn't going to be long-winded because of my notes. It's because there's so much to talk about. And it all starts with a fantastic intro of a person on a boat with a baby going over these amazing waves. We hear Kubo's like narrating, basically says, if you must blink, do it now. The thing that I said at the beginning when I totally botched our intro bit. I don't know what I was doing. I had a Red Bull at work at like 4 o'clock, and I've been like weird. And,
I think that's just Red Bull. I think it just does it.
Because I don't drink energy drinks very often. But I wrote immediately, I cannot believe this water is stop motion. You know, she's cruising through on the little boat. They're clearly running from something.
They're running from the moon, man.
Well,
the moon is chasing them.
We don't
know that yet.
Well, I do. I saw the movie before.
Your review of this movie is from the third time you saw it, and our review is from the first time.
We don't know there's a baby there yet. Like, she's on the boat. I'm like, damn, this girl is on an improper boat for these waters.
But then she cuts a wave in half with a guitar
with a sweet
string.
chord.
Yeah. It is really cool, this entire sequence, when you do know that her father is literally the moon and that he is chasing her, essentially. The moon is in every shot, even if it's like, you know, the wave coming up, you can see the moon through the waves. The fact that he's using waves to attack her, it's like, you know, in our reality, the moon controls tides and would be able to control the waves. So it's like in the
really good point.
Magic of this universe, he would definitely be able to control water, right, in some capacity. Also, like, one thing that I noticed on this watch that I hadn't noticed before is the moon is always full every time you see it, until the very end when he defeats his grandfather, and it's just this thin sliced crescent moon at that point. It's almost like the entirety of him has been removed except for this like small little chunk, which I was like, wow, I can't believe I didn't notice that before. That's such a good storytelling element told only through visuals. If you're paying attention,
because in Coraline, the button moving over the moon to do the eclipse, that was a similar sort of thing that you had a similar reaction to, where you were like, I didn't really.
Yeah, in that it was more like it was like a timer almost,
Yeah.
right? And then when it's revealed it's a button, you're like, oh, crazy, that's cool. Whereas in this, it's like the moon is a character, and if
You
you
watch
kind
the
of
moon.
every time you see it, it has a different personality throughout the movie, and this is why I like advocate for people to watch all of these movies multiple times because you do pick up on little things because they're spending a month on like a 5-minute sequence. They're gonna put crazy stuff in there that you're not gonna notice the first time you watch it, right?
Everything is intentional.
Yeah, of course.
And we've talked about that on this as well. And this movie has a similar thing where like everything's so intentional because they have to spend that time on it. But this one is ironically the most formulaic of the four that we covered, because it kind of feels like a traditional adventure with three MacGuffins. It's like almost like a Zelda adventure, where you get the
that's
things,
what I felt the first time I watched it too.
Beat the final boss, but you get like a cool, you get a preview of the movie where he's telling the story, which I'll get to in a sec. And then when you see, I was like, oh, he's just going to fight these things. But then you get three alternate versions of those three things that are much cooler. Especially the hypnotizing sea monster, which is one of my favorite things I've ever seen. But at this point in the movie, a wave hits her off the boat. She falls into the water, and we see one of the most violent things I've seen in any of these Leica movies. When her head hits the rocks, I thought she was dead. I was like, oh, she's dead.
I mean, she probably should be dead. I assume her magic saved her in some capacity, right?
Well, she got severe brain damage, which is, this whole movie has a sort of deteriorating memory sort of thing going on. I don't know if her memory thing I thought her memory thing has to do specifically with this, but when they meet up with Hanso, he's just, I don't remember what's going on. I've just been here for this time. We'll get to that, of course. We do have an interesting thing that happens in this movie, and at around literally 2 minutes into this film, we get...
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
Sort of.
Well, yeah, they don't say the whole...
They don't look into the barrel of the camera and say Kubo and the two strings, but we hear Kubo's name. But I'm setting this up because we're gonna hear this. We're gonna hear this sting again.
Oh gosh.
I have a little bit.
He's gonna spam it.
I'm just gonna keep playing it every time they say Kubo.
No. Movie.
I made a note that the animation in this is immediately different than the rest of them. It's a little bit like Paranorman, but it's got its own visual flair to it. It's very like Japanese inspired visually. I don't know how to explain this, and I've been trying to explain this in my head that'll make sense. And the theme of the movie is very much paper and origami centric, but it's almost like they were animated out of a book, and the art style of the book is like they're almost made of origami or watercolor, and that's brought to life into 3D. That's sort of how I felt. It a lot of I kept thinking of, remember the Hungry Caterpillar? Remember that book? Every time you turn the page, it's like the art style of that reminds me of the Leica style a lot.
Yeah,
if you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, all Leica movies feel very much like those rudimentary drawings that you would see in like a children's bookstore.
Like a pop-up storybook almost.
Yeah, exactly. But this one in particular feels, yes, inspired by origami, yes, inspired by, rudimentary illustrations for children's books, but they also feel like those sort of old Japanese illustrations that you would see, like especially when you see his mom for the first time in the cave, just everything that she's wearing, the regalia, the colors, the patterning on everything that they're wearing. It seems like sort of like this marriage of all three of these things, right? Where they're like, where are we going to take the inspiration from? Well, obviously we need to have the kid-friendly animation style, so we're going to make things cutesy as we do, but we also have things that are spooky and scary. And then we're going to also take from this, I guess you could call it appropriate this illustration style from another culture. And then they've got their, their traditional style that they've been working with since the 90s or whatever, right? Like even the characters that I have in my background here, they're reminiscent of something that you would see in The Nightmare Before Christmas, but they have their own identity that fits very clearly into this world as well, right?
Yeah, they're great. They're great mid bosses and they're great characters and
mid bosses. Okay, yeah, sub boss,
mid boss. The video game elements of this, like we were talking about Coraline in that kind of way, where it feels like this game should have just been turned into like an adventure game, but it was turned into like a shitty like platformer or some bad video. This game could make a very good either like traditional JRPG or literally a Zelda game.
Well, because you're literally, it's a hero's journey, right? Like you have 3 items you have to get to defeat the final boss, and there's like mid bosses on the way. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, he's leveling up every time he gets a new item. Yeah,
yeah. The MacGuffins, like they help him out and they help out the team. Like when Monkey gets the sword, she's an excellent.
It is also nice that it like cleanly wraps up by him going back to where he started to finish
the
fight.
Oh my gosh. I actually, when it like went to that scene, I was like, you've got me. Like, what do you mean it was there the whole time? It kept showing us the bell.
Yeah. And when you know that helmet, the bell is the helmet, the amount of times they show you that helmet in the opening sequence up until he gets captured, even the scene where he is getting captured, it's like in the foreground. It is the main thing in your face. It's so satisfying. If you're watching it with somebody who hasn't seen it, you're just kind of like, I know something you don't know.
Yeah, it's totally one of those movies too, because like even the little reveals throughout the movie are so good. That's a very Leica thing I've noticed, where the whole movie I'm going, but what are the 2 strings? And when that finally happened, I was like, ah!
His parents are the 2 strings.
His strings are the 2 strings on his wrist. But all of that's much later. At this point, we get a little bit of a time jump. He's no longer a baby Kubo. They now live in like a cave. The mom is in like sort of a catatonic state. He like takes care of her and feeds her. When they wake up in the morning, there's like paper strewn about. We don't really know what that's about yet. He takes her to like the edge of the cliff every morning, it seems like, so she can look at the ocean because she's in this catatonic state. And he heads down into town. And I gotta say, he's the coolest. He's basically their television and their busker and their entertainment. I'm wondering, does he go into town every day and just disrupt everything until the sun goes down?
It's a long story. And
it's a full day of storytelling. I assume he gets there around noon, you know? Like he doesn't...
3-4 hours, baby.
Yeah. He's got to clean up all that paper that his mom dream tossed around the room or whatever.
That scene was unbelievable. Like when he did that, I was like, this movie has already captured me, like with the first scenes. But then to do this beautiful story of dancing origami paper, and they would like shred each other. It was so cool.
If you've there's a game for the Switch called Paper Mario and the Origami King, and
that was the alternate name for this movie.
Kubo and the Origami King.
Can you imagine if Kubo was just Paper Mario? Like do this whole movie as Paper Mario and the 2 strings.
And he pulls his mask off and he's like, "Wahoo!"
Yeah, he's like, "If you need to blink,
Mario." Like
that game though uses a very similar like art style for its paper, and a very similar thing where like when something gets shredded, that like confetti goes everywhere. That has like looks really cool in this as well. And I really like when he first walks into the town and there's like a guy with a paper dragon, and there's people building lanterns out of paper, and there's all sorts of like just little details that you don't get on the first go, because there's like baskets, people weaving baskets, and this is all, you know, animated with stop motion. They didn't need to do this. Steve, we didn't talk.
Well, we didn't need to see an old lady put a piece of lint in her bra either, but you know,
sure we did.
It's uplifting.
Yeah.
Positivity.
It also tells you a lot about her character.
It does.
Which is,
true.
Damn, what a badass old lady.
But she also like she seems like the kind of lady who's always looking on the bright side of things no matter what, right?
Yeah.
This town is not rich, it seems.
I thought
and a lot of the people
that she was a street person.
Well, I think that the entire town is like a community. It's very small, right? Some people are probably more well off than others, but they're all sort of relying on each other's kindness and charity to be able to survive as like this ecosystem. It doesn't seem like anybody is destitute, though maybe there are some who are richer than others. It also doesn't seem like anybody is starving to death or anybody is like better than anyone else. It's kind of refreshing in a way to like see this Hamlet almost, where it's like, yeah, there are people who are having to perform on the street in order to eat, but they don't seem particularly hard pressed by it. They're still positive about it.
And they're still respected in what they're doing, right?
Exactly. And clearly everybody in the town loves Kubo because the entire town gathers around to watch him do his stuff.
And she likes to request different monsters every week. And she's like, "Can you just work in a fire-breathing chicken, a giant?"
Seems like she often asks for a chicken.
He's like, "I don't know." And,
I did a chicken last time. I do like, before we move past the opening sequence in the cave, we do see him fold a bunch of origami just with his hands, right? So it gives us the knowledge that he's not just like using magic to be able to do this. He also he has the skill to fold origami himself without using magic. So to me, that implies that like he has this innate magic that he gets through the pick and the guitar, but it's also within him. But then he also is skilled. He's a skilled storyteller, and he's capable of doing the origami without the magic. I wonder what he would be able to do if he didn't know how to do origami. Would he be able to be as impressive? I don't know. Maybe he just would be able to make paper float around.
He feels like a traditional bard, sort of.
Sure, yeah.
But with the Japanese flair. Sorry, Tatiana, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, I had a question actually about that cave scene. Is it kind of implied that the mom is only lucid at night? Like that idea of like the moon coming up and there's that lucidity comes back for those big moments. Okay.
I can't say definitively, but they make it. He gets home that first night, and she just comes out of it.
So, exactly.
Yeah. For me, I was like, okay, so either she is choosing when to snap out of it, because that's when she would need to protect Kubo the most, is at night. So she comes to lucidity at that point because she knows she needs to protect Kubo, or because she's a moon witch, her magic is most powerful at night. So it's like charging her and she can kind of snap out of it or something. So during the day, the moon is far away from her and she's disconnected, right? But I mean,
that was my assumption, but
yeah,
again, it's not explicitly said at any time.
It's also not something that's necessarily important, but it is kind of fun to theorize upon. Being like, oh yeah, her moon magic. She needs the moon to get her magic,
and like in
her mind.
Yeah, that blow to the head seemed to have something to do with it. But the whole crux of the movie is like people, especially her parents, just like forget. And I feel like if she had lived longer, maybe and the events of this movie don't happen, the longer they stay in the cave, but she goes fully catatonic and fully like, but it really played like this movie has a lot of themes of loss. Obviously, this would be a great movie to show a kid dealing with the death of a grandparent, I think. To sort of have,
or a parent,
yeah, to have them sort of wrap their head around it.
I think, yeah, I mean, the important message at the end of the movie is that like magic is magic, but like memories are the most powerful magic of all, and like, you know, everybody lives on through memories, and it's like that's sort of the idea is like losing memories happens to everybody in this, but they're still acting innately through this sort of like subconscious memory. Like, you know, when you meet Hanzo for the first time, he doesn't know who he is, but he instinctually wants to protect Kubo and his wife, even though he doesn't know that he is important to them in any way. He is, and he knows that he is.
Did you guys figure it out real fast? Because I did not.
I did. I mean, it's, you know, this is not meant to be a diss or anything. It is relatively like telegraphed to you.
I know, like, but I didn't figure out that Hanzo was the dad until I saw the picture on the villa when they get to like the old house. The mom was pretty obvious because it's the same voice, right? It's Charlize Theron for both the mom and the monkey. But even still, when they're in that whale, I didn't know. I was so like, what is happening here? But it all makes sense. And some other stuff that I like noticed watching it again was like they talk about how like I was so heartbroken. Spoilers, guys. But I was so heartbroken when they die, when the parents die as their beetle and monkey form later in the movie. I had forgotten they had a conversation earlier that's like, we're magic, this magic's fading, you know, like this is all going to go away. So the second time I watched it, I didn't have that like, oh no, the parents are dead. The parents were already gone. These are like those ghost manifestations that sort of...
Kubo has basically already mourned the death of both his parents at this point, and he's just they are memories of his parents, right? And their forms are not the same as he would have known them in life. And it's him losing them again is obviously super duper tragic because it's
heartbreaking. You're like, oh, you just got them back. Like you could have just had a lovely life with your like beetle and monkey parents.
Appropriately named Beetle and Monkey.
Yeah,
Mr.
Monkey Mom and Beetle Dad.
I did not realize it was Charlize Theron until the monkey form, and I had to look it up. I love Charlize Theron. I think I truly will watch anything that this woman is in. I went to the Louvre in Paris, and despite the beautiful things around me, I looked out the window and there was a giant J'adore Dior billboard outside. I was like, stunning, like absolutely stunning.
This is
what a work of art
yeah.
in this museum. So I loved it. I thought she did a great job, and I did really love that she was just Monkey. Like they just kept the name Monkey. I was like, it's close to Mom. Is that kind of giving it away a bit? Monkey.
But like when she's in her mom form, to what Steve was saying, like she's a fully protective, and then like the essence of her goes into the monkey statue with her magic, becomes full protection, and the monkey character is just like protective to a fault almost. Then we see a little bit of the flirtation between the beetle and monkey, you know, like it's just so good. At the point of the movie we're at, though, it is the point where he does do this story out of origami, the origami dance. Tells the story of Hands of the Mighty Samurai. I made a note, this is incredible. The whole story about the samurai getting the special pieces of gear and the different monsters. I made a note about Origami King there. The final boss is the Moon King. And right before they end, we see like a shadow of the Moon King forming. And then the bell rings and Kubo has to run home.
You got to go before the moon comes.
Before the moon comes.
I particularly like this as well because, you know, it's the villagers are complaining like, no, not again. And like one guy is like, people love an ending. They need an ending. And he's like, gotta go.
The main guy of the town is played by George Takei. And I don't know if you notice, I don't forget if it's at the beginning or at the end, we get a hard, almost right into the camera. Oh my, which I thought was...
He probably should have been in the movie more, considering what the movie is. It's like,
I don't want to get too into this, but it's interesting that Matthew McConaughey is one of the characters. Gotta say,
a lot of white voices.
The whitest man.
Yeah, I think George Takei is the only Japanese. Like, if you look at the list on your Kubo poster.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
He had a few lines, like a handful.
It's wild that he's on the poster and he has maybe like 5 lines of dialogue in the entire movie.
Perhaps it was to sit there and be like, we promised we didn't just do only white people.
Yeah. We got a couple Asian people, I swear to God. George Takei's in it. See, he's on the poster.
What I was wondering was like, what was the choice? Because this movie could have been like...
This movie was like right at released, that point was right at the beginning where people were really kind of starting to call out Hollywood on it. And you know, not to say that that's an excuse, but I think that if this movie was made today, decisions would probably be a little bit different in terms of the cast, but also the cast did a really good job. It was excellent. And
but imagine if
I don't know.
It's
like kind of like it's a thing we can talk about, but it's also like, I don't know.
Imagine
it
this
happened.
But
it happened a lot back then.
Full like Japanese production or even Asian production, and it was fully like realized that way. I think it would be even more special than it is. It's great that they're highlighting Japanese folklore, obviously, right? But I think it could have elevated it. In fact, it's like my only critique of this movie, really. Like, spoilers. We'll get to my review at the end, but that's the only real problem I had with this thing, that it wasn't a little bit more, like, there wasn't more culture put into it, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this movie did get quite a bit of backlash for the cast at the time, and like I said, it was just sort of when the studios had started calling out this kind of behavior in Hollywood. But you also have to consider the fact that these movies take like 6 years to make. So they always do the recording for this stuff beforehand because they need to animate to the voiceover. So the voice actors would have recorded like in like 2011,
Yeah.
so it's like, oh yeah, we can't just go back and redo that.
I don't
Again,
wanna- I
I
don't
feel
wanna
like I'm
make
defending it and I don't
excuses,
like
yeah.
I feel icky. I'm like, I need to take a shower after this.
At any
Yeah.
rate, I took a shower before this because I was like, this is gonna be. We have to address it at least. But
Yeah.
the part of the story now is what we talked about previously, where she sort of the mother sort of lights up at night, kind of comes to out of her catatonic state. And she's the one that's telling Kubo the story that he then goes and relates to the town through the use of origami, which that first twist almost for me, though, like a little bit of a like, whoa, that's really cool. Like I was wondering where he was getting, if it was just an overactive imagination, if it was coming from somewhere, some book or something, but nope. At night, they have dinner. She kind of comes out of it and keeps telling the story. Although unfortunately, her recount of the tale has become somewhat.
I also wanted to say about the origami story that he tells in the town. It's like the reason he never finishes is because he doesn't know the end of the story, right? And because his mom doesn't know the end of the story, and she never finishes it as well. But also, the story he's telling is literally his own story that we're about to see unfold. So he doesn't know the end of the
Unfold?
story as well. Unfold. Oh my God. I see what I did there by accident. And that's kind of that whole storytelling moment is foreshadowing without foreshadowing so clearly, right? Like it's giving you the MacGuffins, as you said, but it's also telling you that he's going to have to defeat certain elements in order to obtain them, but also it doesn't at all. It
No.
just gives you like sort of like
Completely different.
It's almost like watching a movie trailer and then you go in and then everything is different for the movie, except it's kind of the same a little bit.
So it's a spider, a shark, and
Chicken.
and the flame throwing chicken. In reality, it's a skeleton, a nightmare sea monster, and what was the third one?
Just the burnt down
dragon thing, right?
It's
I
more
guess
like the ant.
the sisters. But then the final battle is kind of like a demon koi fish or something. It reminded me of the Chitauri like monsters in the Avengers, that are flying around the city that Hulk like grabs out of the sky. No Avengers 1 fans.
I mean, I think the koi fish was more appropriate.
More apt.
I think it was based on an actual like a dinosaur, not a dinosaur, not a trilobite. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like based off a real creature, like an ancient pre-us creature.
Like a
Is it prehistoric? It's prehistoric, the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I would say it looked like a. I know what you mean, like some sort of megalodon or something.
It's almost like it's like a bug and a fish, and it's got like a human
It
hand
has like
for a tail.
carapace on the outside too, so
Yeah.
it's like hard. Yeah.
And
So cool, though.
The face is kind of human-like, like it looks very angry, and it does like the yin yang in the moon when it goes up and like folds around in the moon for a second there, and you're just like, they're doing so much with this monster right now and the glow. Oh my God, the glow!
The teal color.
Well, yeah, and just like the lighting in that entire sequence, even when pre-monster Grandpa, when he's just having the conversation with him,
Has that glow.
the glow and like when you think about how they make these movies, you're like, this is probably just a puppet that's been painted pure blue and white, and then they are either
Reflect
pumping
light. Or
somehow
something,
reflecting
yeah.
light off of it. I don't know.
Or like using glow in the dark paint and illuminating it.
Could be. Yeah, it looks amazing though. Anyway, I'm jumping too far ahead.
It's true. We're doing a lot of jumping around in this one. My notes, like I don't have a lot of notes, so like if we just stick to the plan, friends. Moon King is grandfather. The sisters are evil as well. You must always stay hidden. That's basically what the mom explains. That's why you have to come home at dusk. Never go out after dark. The moon is watching you. You
one
know
of
that
those
giant
things
thing in the sky that takes up most of the sky? It can see what you're doing all the time.
When
also
do
like
kids ever listen to their parents' hard rules, you know?
yeah,
We would
but at
have
least
no movies if kids listened to their
It's true.
parents' intense
That's true.
rules.
If
But also,
Coraline just like went to sleep that night and lived her shitty existence, well,
Don't feed the gremlins after dark or get them wet, you know?
or
It's
let them
all,
watch TV.
it's all there.
The rules of Gremlins, though, let's be real, are a little bit like very specific for what happens in that one scene in that movie.
But also like obviously they make movies for kids, but they're not. They're on they're on the cusp of what like the cutoff point of when it would then become a movie for not kids. You know,
Gremlins toes that line real hard.
Gremlins that's a real.
The mom
hard
puts a
PG-13.
gremlin in a blender, and a saw blade goes right next to Ralph Macchio's
I don't think I would
head.
show an 8-year-old Gremlins, but I would definitely show an 8-year-old Kubo in the.
I would show a 10-year-old Gremlins, which I think is when I watched it.
Well, that's why I said 8.
The sisters were so creepy, like so perfectly. I'm so sorry, that was my dog. So perfectly creepy. I loved them. I loved them so much. I was like, I want to be this for Halloween.
I remember when the trailer came out, seeing them in the trailer for the first time. That was like the selling point for me. Immediately when I saw that, I was like, I'm seeing this movie. Those two, whatever they are, look so sick. I need to see this movie.
I was kind of bummed that they weren't like more different, but they are very different because they kind of have different motivations. The first one, of course, is like, you know, I've never been defeated. The only person to defeat me was my sister. And the way that, and she fights this like crazy battle. And then the second sister comes with double revenge on her mind. And then
so I just want to correct
more
you.
Rage.
She doesn't say my sister defeated me. She says the only time I've ever lost is when I lost my sister. So she's not saying that her sister defeated her. She's saying that she lost her sister. So
I missed that.
Yeah,
I misinterpreted that because that sequence is intense.
So she like the only feeling of loss that she's ever had is when she lost her sister, and she's fighting her sister in monkey form.
In monkey form.
When they're fighting though, and the face gets cracked, I didn't realize they were masks until that moment. Then I was like, oh wow, I thought they were just like these creepy 3 moon goddess
frozen
children.
face people. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that cracked mask too, and like
Me too.
The anger you can now, because it's like this neutral sort of smirk, right, the entire time, and then when you see the actual grimacing mouth giving away true emotion underneath, so cool, so smart, so good.
That's one of the things that was telegraphed that I didn't know. I was like, those look like Vega's mask from Street Fighter,
or hexadecimal,
yeah. Which is great.
Fun fact about the sister's costume, though, because I did watch behind the scenes things. It was just too cool not to. Their amazing capes are made by interlacing or weaving piano wire and then putting these little feathers individually to make this crazy cape. So then it can do these amazing bends and kind of like contractions. And it was so cool. Like the amount of thought that goes into like each particular thing to get the movement that they want is beautiful. They didn't have to give them these sweet capes.
They could have had static cape with no movement. Yeah, and I would have been fine with that too.
I know. And then this one, I'm just like,
yeah, the reveal of the two sisters with the capes billowing in the wind. Like, I'm like, I know this is stop frame, but holy shit, I need to just stop here and rewind and appreciate the movement of these capes because it's so satisfying. Just the thought of
be a movie that I just put on to show people.
Yeah,
the other movies are very visually stunning, but like this one, this is the second newest one, right? Missing Link is the newest. My problem with Missing Link is it almost felt too, it looked too much like CGI, even though it was obvious. Like it's, if you watch it, you know that it's stop motion. But this is like the peak of it still looking like figurines and stuff being moved, being manipulated. It doesn't have as much of the CGI fixing that I think Missing Link might have had, because Missing Link is indistinguishable from CGI. It's
like they got too good at stop frame. Yeah, like, damn it, people don't realize.
You need that sweet spot where you're kind of like, wow, this is stop frame, but I can almost not believe it.
Yeah,
but you like the moments where Monkey is scratching and you can see the fur movement and she pulls out a tick or whatever and eats it.
Or when her hair's blowing, or when she like wakes up in the morning, her hair's all disheveled and she like fixes it.
Yeah, and it looks stunning and beautiful. And but I think that like this movie in particular, like it's almost an argument for the medium as an art form, right? To like show people like look at what you can do with stop frame and how beautiful it can be. Because there are people who still are just like, well, why not just animate it? And it's like, because look how much cooler it looks when you have people who are passionate about their craft working on it.
And they're not just feeding like ideas into a computer and then animating it, you know. And it's going to get so much worse with AI.
Yeah, and I mean not
movies.
to stomp on animation, because it's obviously there are tons and tons of animated movies that are amazing and heartfelt and warm and wonderful, but there's something about stop frame that just feels right to me, and like it has far more impact on me emotionally.
We're also big fans of practical effects on this show. When did you see that interview with the guy from The Bear who's playing the Thing in the new Fantastic Four? And this guy comes on to a talk show and says, when people do the costumes, I'm going to be full CGI as the Thing. When they do costumes, it feels like, Comic-Con. I wrote that dude off so hard. Because, Michael Chiklis looks kind of ridiculous in the Thing outfit in the first two Fantastic Four movies, but those movies are campy and weird and of an era. I think that they could do a practical thing.
You're telling me that in a Marvel movie, they're not going to use practical effects on something?
That's very
also to do like a mixture, right? Like you don't have to be completely in the outfit, but like I feel like maybe it lends to feeling a bit more like that giant character.
Yeah.
How do you feel like the Thing if you're just standing as you know?
Exactly. And
you need to be a little uncomfortable. You're a bunch of rocks.
Like, you're a rock man, yeah.
At least Mark Ruffalo used the giant fists.
So funny.
Yeah.
I could buy those at the store. So
yeah. Back in the cave, she gives Kubo the monkey, the little wood monkey, says, keep this with you at all times.
Mr. Monkey.
Don't go out into the dark or else.
This is what I wanted to say.
Dark. No, I'm just kidding.
She explains to him why, though. In many of the movies that we mentioned earlier, they never tell the kid why. They just give them the rule instead of explaining why. Like she full on says like, my sisters will come and take your eye.
Yeah.
And you'll die. And you're like, okay.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Like
so,
he is aware of the consequences to his actions.
It's not like every kids movie ever where they're like, don't feed him after midnight or else. It's like, or else what? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you why. My store's closed now. Most movies, they don't, because I guess they want the reveal or whatever, right, of what the stakes are. But Kubo is very smart, so he asks a lot of questions, and it would be unbelievable for him to not want to know what those consequences are. So that you just give him the consequences. And also giving us that threat before we even see what the threat is great. Because you're like, who are these monstrous people that are coming? Are they going to be, gross monsters? Are they going to be weird creepos? Turns out they're both.
They're little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
Mostly...
Kind of sexy. Like, it's
kind of hot.
What's going on?
Yeah, I was feeling all sorts of feelings for Coraline.
Hexadecimal was a weird sexual awakening for me.
It's true. Like, it's a great mask. Everybody go out and buy that mask. The mom goes back into catatonic state. Their masks are kind of like masks of her face as well. Like I don't think we see the sister's full face at any point. But when we do see it, they're almost like undead. They've got like that blue skin.
Yeah, they look like the grandpa looks when he shows up. They're like ghosts. Like it's almost like they're made of moonlight or something.
Yeah, but the mom is very human, very like, she's got that porcelain complexion, much like the masks. And I think that their masks are meant to be sort of a reference to the sister. There's probably, if this was like an animated movie, like animated by CGI or animated by something that wasn't so difficult, and they could do sequels or like, make more of the story, there would probably be a backstory about the masks. I was thinking about this a lot because the big problem with Laika is like you're not going to get sequels to things because
I watched an interview today. He just went no sequels. So loud, so determined. I'm like, what? I respect that. Like
I was going to say, I don't think that's the problem with Laika. I think that's one of the best parts about Laika is we don't have to like have a post-credit sequence that sets up, I don't know, Kubo meets the missing link or whatever. Yeah.
Which would be a great movie.
I think it's so tough because when you have a story you love or like a movie you love, you obviously want more. Like there's a part of you that wants more, but so many times you look at it and you're like, no, this is amazing because they did it in this one story. So it's kind of like a war with yourself, you know? You're like, I want that sequel, but I understand the reasons you're not doing it.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second part of the remake, came out today, and I started playing it for like 15 minutes, and I yelled out, "This is wrong!" because my memory of the original Final Fantasy VII, it's still good. Like, I'm still excited.
And then you went and took a shower. Like,
and then I was like, "Oh, wash it off." Yeah. It's like, this is horrible. No, it's actually amazing, but you're right. Sometimes, like, if you watch this at the right age, it's going to stay with you forever, and it's going to be its own thing. Big Trouble in Little China, when we covered that movie, I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it when I was a kid. That doesn't have any sequels, arguably.
I watched that for the first time as an adult and like could not stop laughing.
It's
that
crazy.
movie is just an absolute riot, start to finish.
It's like a Ninja Turtles movie without any Ninja Turtles in it. But it's one of those things that if you watch at the right age, it's just
the reason the Ninja Turtles aren't in it is because it takes place in San Francisco, not in New York.
Right.
If they were in New York,
in the wrong city.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like exactly the same. Anyway, it's the same like universe almost as the second Ninja Turtles.
Well, the
movie.
Ghostbusters also exist in this universe. It all feels like it's the same place.
If the comic books are canon, they meet each other through a portal. At any rate, she goes back into the catatonic state and the day is done. She dreams that night, and that's why the paper is flying around the previous time.
Yeah.
And she can't remember.
Here's one thing that I want to ask you guys. Why doesn't he just pull his guitar out and play a little ditty to pick up all those papers? Why does he got to do it one by one?
I don't know if he knows how to do it yet.
I think that it's because you have to use your power responsibly. And I think cleaning up with your power, while easy and fun, not responsible. You can't pull a Madeline. Is it Madeline?
Right. I was going to say Mary Poppins, but I guess they have the same powers.
It's funny that you guys say that, though, because as soon as he realizes he has this power, like, coming up, he makes that giant
he already knows he has the power. He freaking put on a whole show in town.
I know, but it's different. Like, he's trying to busk to... I mean, he doesn't make any money off of it. Yeah,
he does. He's got some coins in that.
Also, clearly magic is normal because the people were like, "Wow, this is astounding,"
this is
but nobody was like, "Hunt the witch," you know?
Yeah, exactly. This isn't Paranorman.
No, that's like the opposite of this movie.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of one of the things I really like about it is like magic is just normal. I always love a movie where magic is just normal because it's like we don't have to have the magical reveal where everyone's like, whoa, because you've seen it 1,000 times. It's just like, no, he just has a magical guitar. That's the world that we live in here. He goes in here every day and plays a song and everyone loves it. And then he goes home. No one else has magic apparently, except for him.
We don't know.
Yeah. There's probably other, magical people in the world, but we don't see them in this movie. This is Kubo's story.
Yeah.
Kubo and the Two Strings.
So Kubo goes back to town after the next day, basically. And the old lady, he's like, well, what? I'm not allowed to come here at night. And the old lady is like, at night there's fireworks and we go to the river, we go to the graveyard and we send all of our loved ones down the river in lanterns, paper lanterns. And Kubo's like, are you fucking shitting me? That sounds incredible. So he decides that he wants to try this out. It's pretty...
He wants to make a lantern for his dad.
Yeah,
it's a festival, right? It's some sort of festival.
Yeah, it's like a yearly event, I suppose. Yeah,
I took it as every single night.
No, every night they do it. That town has a dangerous shortage of paper.
Yeah, and there's constant explosions in the sky. The animals are losing their minds.
The river is polluted with this like
so
soggy, wet paper.
Yeah,
the turtles are dying.
There's a ban on paper in this town. Like a week later,
so many forest fires.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I thought that they were going to be those little lanterns paper lanterns you light and go up into the sky, but they were the kind that you put in the water and they float down.
Yeah, I think those are Chinese, aren't they? The ones that go in the sky.
Yeah, that's right.
Or whatever the people are entangled.
Entangled, yeah, right.
Isn't that a
I
white
assume
lady
Swedish,
with long
yeah.
hair?
Swedish or something.
If you guys ever do that movie, call me back. I'm an expert.
Untangled? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Our resident Tangled expert, yeah.
I think if we ever do like a Disney month, I'd like to do the like off the beaten path ones, and that would be
So Tangled.
and
Like the Black Cauldron.
Princess and the Frog.
Oh,
Black
yeah, that's a good
Cauldron,
movie.
Beautiful movie.
And the one with the
Keith David's in it. We have done Keith David movies so many times
So many
on this
times.
podcast.
Is Quest for Camelot Disney, or am I wrong? Is it
I think
just
that's
animated?
a Bluth movie.
Okay.
It's like the people who made
I sing the songs from Quest for Camelot way too often.
right. It's like you know, like there was Disney and then there was the Bluth movies. Like they were always the people would confuse them for Disney movies, like Fern Gully and there's like a ton of them, but they're all weird and they all have kind of horny energy to them. Like you're just like, oh, this is
Why
Disney,
do all the
but...
women have cleavage in these kids animated films? Yeah, I thought Ferngully was a Disney movie, and then don't go back and watch that episode because it's very embarrassing. I got duped by that. Somebody made like a fake poster for a Ferngully live action, and it says Disney, and I was so confused. And then we went to a class about media awareness. So everybody go to
media literacy,
media awareness classes and learn about it, because your parents are getting duped by AI as we speak. They're typing amen under a picture.
Well,
of
the thing that gave it
bird.
away for me is when you started listing the
horrible.
actors. You started listing the actors that were in this movie. I'm like, there's no way. This is not real, man. This is not a real movie.
And I'm not stupid. Like, I'm a smart, I think I'm an intelligent person.
We grew up in the age of internet. We are savvy.
I think I wanted it more.
Yeah, you got tricked because you liked the idea. You're like, oh, this looks sick.
Ferngully, formative movie. I saw it in theaters. First time I ever had Jelly Bellies. Boom. That's the recipe for a memory.
Yeah, you were like, live action Ferngully coming out in 2026, starring Robin Williams. Like, wait a minute. That should have been the giveaway.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious if I fell for that. So Kubo goes to the graveyard. He learns about respecting the dead. He sets up a lantern that allows him to talk to his dad, but the dad doesn't respond. That's when I was like, what is this movie about now? If was the mother been spinning a lie this whole time?
He makes the saddest little lantern because he doesn't have one. Like, he makes one that just looks like it's really not going to survive on the water.
Yeah. The tiny little, it looks like an envelope that got
I think
someone
that's
blew air
the
into.
reason his dad didn't answer. He was like, do better.
Do better.
You got to make a better lantern, man.
The sun is rapidly going down. Sorry, were you going to say something, Tatiana? I didn't mean to.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I always, when I look away and I start reading my notes, I'm concerned that somebody's trying to say words.
Generally just clearing my throat, I promise.
Right. So they send their lanterns down the water. He hears the bell and has to get home. And then I think at this point he's like already crumpled up his lantern. He's like, screw you, Dad. You're useless. And this lantern's useless and everything sucks. And then it becomes nighttime and it becomes a horror movie.
Yes.
Briefly.
The best part of the movie.
When the sisters appear, that's your
Wait, do we think that his dad didn't answer because his dad wasn't actually dead?
I think
Is that the reason?
I think so.
That's really cool.
He got transformed into a bug.
Or
his dad can't remember.
He was manifested as the bug through magic, so like his soul is sort of alive.
It's a little bit unclear if he died and then they took his spirit and turned it into a bug.
They just lied that he died and changed him.
Or if he just got mutated into a bug via magic. What is clear is that they stole his memories, and that's very sad. But they couldn't steal his passion or his love for his family, which is beautiful.
And they made his voice Matthew McConaughey, which I couldn't figure it out, man. I thought it was Tim Allen for a bit.
I thought it was George Clooney. He sounded like Batman to me.
That's pretty good. That is a pretty good friggin' guess, because I was trying to like match the mouth to like different actors' faces, and I would have. That's a really good. I
honestly guessed George Clooney, and when I saw Matthew McConaughey, I still really can't see it.
Nope. Watching it a second time, I was like, that's how.
Really?
But you can hear the little twang in his voice when you know it's him.
I think when this movie came out, I was working on a Matthew McConaughey impression, so I was like listening to a lot of people doing impressions of him, so I knew it was him immediately.
That's great.
I'm not going to do it.
Tatiana, of course, was working when Batman and Robin came out. She was working on a impression of George Clooney. And
Robin?
Of Batman, Bruce Wayne.
Specifically Batman.
Yeah. I'm Batman. That's my.
A George Clooney Batman impersonation?
I'm Batman.
Hello, I'm Batman.
Hello, I'm Batman. Robin, you better not steal my girlfriend Poison Ivy. That's my impression of that whole movie.
Yeah, that's pretty much the plot.
Pretty much. Oh, here comes our niece or something. It's Batgirl and Alicia Silverstone.
Bane isn't in disguise. He's wearing a trench coat and a fedora, but he's still got his Bane costume
just
on.
Just like a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's trying to get home, but he doesn't. It becomes nighttime. The Kubo sisters, they're not his sisters. The sisters invade with his aunts invade with their spooky ghost smoke tentacles, and they just destroy the town. The mom jumps into action. She charges up her also moon ability with one of her final breaths. She puts the dragonfly wings on Kubo. He gets flown away. He can see down into the battle. The sisters and the mom just clash. I guess they destroy the mom. Unfortunately, this was the next part where my emotions were raging because of how good it all looked and how great of a story it was becoming. It already was. Yeah. And this is like one of the hardest act breaks I've ever seen in a movie. Like the fade to white and then fade back in, and he's in like a frozen area, like face to face with like this monkey.
This is a good fade to black moment. It's like I don't really like those very often in movies, but this is a part where it's completely appropriate, and I love that he just appears in a world that is completely alien to him. Like it's the complete opposite of where he was. He's in a nice, beautiful town surrounded by a thick, lush forest and a beautiful river, and now he's in a wintry hellscape, just surrounded by blizzard.
And I'm wondering how they would have filmed like an icy blizzard like this. I love the way blizzards look on screen in video games, animated. Just for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm from Canada and I love
snow,
a blizzard and a snowy day.
I think this would be one of the moments where they're using like digital techniques in order to accomplish a blizzard, but they still have to do everything to make them look like they're in a blizzard. I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure they can't stop frame animate a blizzard. That would be impossible.
They could. I guess they could put the blizzard in front digitally and then have in the background sort of some practical snow effects blustering around.
Yeah, there'll be some things will be there, and then they'll add more to thicken it, right? Like to make it look more violent.
But it was so violent. Like it immediately feels like you're watching like not just like it's kind of snowy or it's kind of a blizzard. The foreignness that you feel watching him wake up in this world, and you're going, is he going to immediately get hypothermia? Is he gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's all. I was concerned for this kid.
Yeah, they don't really address the temperature. They're like, no, it's just violently windy.
It's fine. Because
if you're going to send your kids somewhere, like maybe you have to like take a look what's the temperature in that space.
Well, he came from a semi-tropical, like a Japanese archipelago kind of a place, right?
Yeah, I think that she was sending him closer to where he needed to be to obtain the artifacts that he needs to defeat his grandfather.
They make it to a dead whale.
Dead whale in the middle of a mountain, I guess, maybe, which is cool. How did it get there? I don't know.
And how is it? How is the monkey eating it? And also, it smells horrible.
It's frozen.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, I saw this movie. Yeah, I watched it.
I've had the same thought. I'm like, wouldn't this be rotted? And I'm like, well, I guess it's in the middle of a blizzard, so maybe it's really cold.
We get a little bit of comedy here because she's like, listen, don't mention the smell. I know it's going to smell horrible, but as a monkey, my smell ability is like 200 times yours.
Yeah.
And it's the driest. I love Monkey's brand of comedy in this movie because I love dry comedy. Every time that she delivers a line, you have to be like, is she serious right now? So I think that's the part of the protection thing, like it has to, she can be dry and funny, but still has to be like teaching a lesson.
Yeah. I am also unclear if Monkey immediately knows that she's her mom or Kubo's mom, or if it's slowly coming to her as she goes through. Because it seems like when she has the realization, it is a realization, and it's not just like I've known this whole time and I just haven't told anybody. But there's also the argument that can be made that she does know, and she just doesn't want to let Kubo know because she doesn't want him to have the sense of hope, knowing that the magic is going to wear off eventually, and she's going to turn back into a little trinket or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the first one, but I don't know.
That's a good point, though. I like that. I like that. Also, watching Kubo's face watch the monkey inside the whale was really funny because he's like,
yeah,
like I don't even.
Monkey also has the best like facial expressions, I think, throughout the entirety of like getting to know her. It kind of softens a bit, right? Even Charlize Theron like changes her tone in voice to be lower, a little bit more stoic. The cadence is a little stronger and sharp, mean, I guess you could call it. And it works so well because if you didn't know both of them were Charlize Theron before, it might not click until she starts to soften up a little bit that it was the same voice actor, because she's not doing the same voice.
No,
she's changing it pretty drastically.
Which I think is also lending to your theory that she doesn't realize that she's the mom yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has like a don't fuck with me face. Like it's just like, I will take no fuss from you.
Yeah, kind of like the half eyelid, like squint, most of it. And she's constantly doing like a sideways, like just kind of like, what the fuck, Fitz?
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you? Just listen to me. I know better.
Well, all through this
I didn't expect my day to start inside of a dead whale.
Yeah.
So we're both having a bad day right now.
Yeah.
I also don't like whale gut soup, so just drink it.
Like all through this exchange too, she's like, I'll give you 3 questions because I know this is a lot. And he's like, who are you? Mr. Monkey. And she's like, whatever. And that's a bit of a comedic back and forth. I'm not going to try to do the conversation, but she essentially gets to the point. She's like, look, I'm just going to lay it out for you. Your mom, with her last breath, sent you here and put her last remaining magic into the wooden monkey. And he's still like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you don't recognize me?
Yeah, I'm the monkey, Mr. Monkey. It's me.
Mr. Monkey.
I also like that in this conversation, she reinstates the same stuff that Kubo's mother was saying earlier, only just like 10 times more aggressively and bluntly.
Yeah.
Just like, if they find us, they're going to kill me, and then they're going to cut out your eye and then kill you. Yeah, and then take you to the moon and turn you into a demon god.
A moon Nazi or something. Yeah. The reason I say that is because the way the mom and the monkey presented is like the Moon King wants everybody to be like created in his image. It's kind of like the other Sasquatches from The Missing Link, how they're like this closed off, like, they want to stay among their own people. But this is like the Moon Father wants to shut off the kid's ability to like be empathetic to other people that aren't moon people. Feels a little bit Fourth Reichy, Third Reich? Yeah. One of the Reichs. Nope.
I think it's the third one.
Yeah. Also, the monkey mentions that the sisters don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't stop. They want
like a Terminator.
Pretty much. Couple of friggin' Terminators over here. They want they get the armor and the helmet and the sword together so we can stop the Moon King. And this is where the monkey pulls a strand of her hair out and is like,
no, Kubo grabbed it when he was flying away. He grabbed his mom's hair.
Right. He was like, I have this. She makes a bracelet out of it.
The first string of the 2 strings.
Yep. Spoilers.
I thought he was going to string his shamisen with it. And I was like, ooh, put that string on there. And then he put it on his wrist. I'm like, fashionable bracelet. So
absolutely.
There we go.
Well, you get it. He does that later. So he does eventually do it.
I'm watching this whole movie going, the 2 strings is the shamisen, right? But the shamisen has 3 strings. It drove me crazy for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, there is weirdly like contention about it, but I mean, like you can read it several different ways, right? You can read it as like the literal two strings that he gathers, one from his mother's head and the other his father's bowstring. Those are the two strings, and then the third string is him.
Is him, yeah.
But then also it's like, the characters in the movie are the strings. They're like tying him. They're tying. He's tied to the two of them via the strings, kind of thing. His mother and his father. It's it's just basic storytelling, guys. It's symbolism. It's a metaphor. Come on.
So,
but it's so good. Like it's so simple, but it's so good, and it also can mean like 20 different things if you think about it, for more than you should.
Yeah,
like
which
like,
I believe we all have, and that's why.
What could this two strings that they refer to be?
2.5-hour podcast about it.
Yeah.
That night, Kubo is asleep, and I guess he now has the ability to. So the way that I interpret it is the mom didn't have any. All she was meant to do was guard Kubo from the family, but since Kubo is now on an adventure, the manifestation of the paper while he's sleeping in the dream stuff is sort of meant to teach him about his powers. And when he wakes up, Monkey kind of wakes up like, what the hell did you create? And it's this little tiny origami, the origami soldier or samurai from his story. But
it's way better.
It's way better. And Kubo's like, when my mom was asleep, she never created anything. She just strewed paper everywhere, which I liked. It was a good touch. An evolution of like the mom to son, passing the magic, what the magic is and how it manifests. And also these are like things that he was creating for that busking story he was doing anyway, right?
But we also find out later that not even that much later, just a couple of moments later, that it's manifested into a version of his father, right?
Exactly,
like it's taking on the form of his dad to
and
guide
at that
him.
moment,
he's like the compass from Pirates of the Caribbean.
And at that moment too, I thought, oh, there's the dad, and that's where that ended. Even when they meet Beetle, I'm like, the Hanzo is the origami, right? We'll get to that and more.
Yeah, they try and treat it like a red herring a little bit, where it's like you meet the Beetle and it looks a lot like Hanzo, but then you're like, oh, but he says he worked for Hanzo. He was like his master or whatever. He was one of the samurai he thinks that, yeah. But then if you notice, the little red guy after this moment is almost always sitting on Beetle's horns or on his shoulder, like for the rest of the movie. He's always like attached to him. So that's kind of like a little bit of a hint, like that they're now always together.
That's a really good. I think I subconsciously noticed that, and I was thinking about it, but I didn't like visually notice it. But that's
even when they're eating fish, he's like throwing the fish into Beetle's mouth and stuff.
I thought it was a really funny little moment where Monkey's like, I encourage you not to die, and then licks her hand and then pats Kubo's hair over, and then it just bounces back into place because it's a cartoon character, and cartoon characters just always look the same. It reminded me of like the Paranorman thing where his hair never changes
right
through the whole movie. But yeah, this is the point where they're out in they're traveling through the snow. Kubo makes the origami birds, and he's sort of just like playing with his powers at this point. This is another moment in a Laika movie where we see a bird in some way expertly detailed and animated, and then Kubo's just pissing the bird off with the bird is visibly angry.
Yeah. He's being a little bit of a dick at this point.
A little bit of a dickhead.
Yeah.
And I was like, please leave that bird alone. It's doing nothing except flying in the sky, living its life.
And then he listens to you, but then he sends the bird up Monkey's butt.
Yeah. Monkey's pissed. And it's like these like mosquitoes like around my head. And then they turn into mosquitoes by
mosquitoes
accident.
Famously show up in like an Arctic desert, right?
Yeah.
That's where mosquitoes are always at.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Very much like a kid attitude, like he finds his powers, and what does he do? He's a little bit of a troublesome little butt.
Yeah. But I thought it was so endearing because we get that glimpse of him not be able to control his powers. Because after he makes up that lie, like, oh, mosquitoes, they turn into mosquitoes and actually attack, sort of. There's only a couple of them, but it's sort
Yeah, it's weird because like I thought that this was going to be, showing us that he doesn't have full control of his powers, and then we would, have other moments where it's either not obeying him or doing stuff it shouldn't be, or not helping him in time of need. But you don't really get any more.
Or in the sequel where he loses his powers, because every superhero loses their powers in the sequel for some reason.
Right. When Kubo 2 and the two more
Kubo and two tubas.
No, Kubo and 2 more strings.
Kubo loses the 2 strings.
Oh no, where'd they go? Yes. So this is now when we get to meet Hanzo, but we call him Beetle, I guess. We'll call him Beetle to remove confusion.
Yeah, so Kubo's showing off. He's like, look at me, there's no way I could possibly fall down this. Whoa! And falls down like a tunnel, like kind of a cave. Monkey jumps into action, goes down into the cave. It turns into sort of like a cool little labyrinth.
Yeah, I mean, this entire sequence we've been seeing a shadowy figure following them stealthily, and it turns out to be a big bug man.
Which Monkey does not want to invite into their crew. Monkey's like, no, thank you.
Some JRPG stuff where it's like, who the frig is this guy who could easily help us as the tank and the swordsman?
And then he does this crazy little bow thing.
Or
and
archer,
like, okay, cool. We don't really have...
That's the first time I've ever done that. You're like, whoa.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another person I guessed that was Kyle MacLachlan. I thought it was Kyle MacLachlan briefly. Has sort of a... Because I've never heard Matthew McConaughey do like a triumphant hero voice. He's always like, hey, I'm a sleazy sleaze from Sleazeville.
I don't dream. Or no, what does he say? I don't sleep. I only dream. Okay. Weirdo.
But yeah, you're right, Tatiana. He's I wrote Turbo Archer is his job class. Monkey is overly protecting because it is a protection token. I guess that was just a note that I made. That's when I realized, because my brain operates at 1 mile an hour apparently. And in this cave, Hanzo's pointing down the different hallways. They make it to like this sort of chapel cave where there's like a pile of bones.
They go through a giant skull to get in there.
Skull, which is very Zelda.
Yeah. This is when it becomes a D&D campaign. You're like, oh, this feels like D&D to me.
My favorite gag of the whole movie happens here, where Monkey's like, don't touch anything. And it cuts to them just like massaging the teeth, just like literally just touching.
They're both touching it, yeah. They're not just like touching it like foolish. No, they're rubbing. They're like, what is this? Yeah.
Beetle pulls a tooth out. He's like, I don't know.
He's like, he did it. He points to Kubo. It was him.
Boss battle time.
Very cool and creative boss battle too. It's something that, you've seen heroes fight giant things a million times, but having it be sort of a King Arthur moment and immediately failure. And then you're like, no, you can't just pull the sword out of the stone hand. You have to pull the sword out of the skull of the
But there's so many swords.
Yeah, but also there's like 100 swords. You don't know which one is which.
The moment I saw the skeleton hand, I'm like, that is attached to a skeleton body. It has to be. So I was vindicated, which was nice. But then I was like, well, this just seems impossible now. He's like shooting arrows at a giant bone creature.
Yeah, like,
and
what
I'm
are they
like,
gonna do?
He's like completely nullifies piercing damage. There's none of that happening here.
Yeah, immunity.
It also grabs Monkey immediately, and as he's shooting the arrows, they're tinging off him and almost just hitting Monkey.
Yeah, she's like, enough with the arrows already. It's not working.
Figure this out. It's a very it reminded me a lot of a Final Fantasy kind of a thing too, with all this. With all the swords sticking out of the head, and like you said, it's a puzzle. You got to figure out the right one. There's a lot of like comedy,
but it's like in a D&D campaign when you put a puzzle in, and there is a failure state of the puzzle that will activate combat. Mm-hmm. It's like they didn't even think to try and do the puzzle first. They're like, let's just immediately grab the sword, which is great because that is something that happens in D&D campaigns all the time. You'll meticulously make a puzzle for your campaign, your players, and they'll just try and do like the first thing, the knee-jerk reaction,
or they'll just be like, let's go to the shop.
Which you think you'd learn, you think you'd learn after that happens a couple times and you're burned. But like sometimes you see the sword, you're like, well, maybe we could just grab it. Like maybe it's fine.
But then
I'm
you get a
like-
paranoid group of people who are like, guys, we can't just pull it up. Remember what happened last
Everything's a
time
mimic.
when the room started filling up with molten metal?
And then it takes like an hour and a half, and DM's just like, I didn't actually do any puzzle for this. Like, you could just touch the sword, but I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I guess I should have ordered dinner.
Yeah. And I do love that, like, when they're pulling out the other swords, they're just like, the way they test it is they just immediately are smashing them and breaking them. It is like the perfect example of just smash and grab in, you know, a puzzle scenario that you could have on screen. And it's fun and it's cool. And like the shot where the hand goes up into the darkness is so
And
ominous.
then the
cool.
eyes glow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
well done.
good.
Yeah, this what is it? The sword of unbreaking, or the sword of, what's the sword called? The sword of
I think it's the Unbreakable Sword or
Yeah.
something like that.
and
I think it's just called Sword Unbreakable.
Sword Unbreakable, and he grabs it and he immediately breaks it, and I thought that was just like so good because Monkey's like, this is it, we just have to you know hamstring this thing with the Sword Unbreakable, and then we get the whole battle. It has some good moments. Kubo goes up and ends up falling, and then Beetle archers him to a wall, but he's like falling, and he ends up falling on top of the skull. I'm not going to try to figure out the logistics.
Yeah, we don't need to go
of
beat
that.
for beat
Yeah.
for this entire thing.
No,
He gets the sword
I
out of
just
the
wanted to
skull.
mention that because it's all the way this is animated is just so well done. Another one of those things where they didn't have to put this much into putting all this stuff in. I urge you to watch this movie and really look at all the things that are happening simultaneously, because they would have had to like animate all of these things and then make them all cohesive together.
I think that it is worthwhile to look up the making of this scene in particular because it is insane to watch. Because you've got, 4 or 5 different animators moving this giant skeleton around with all these smaller figures moving around on it, and it's almost like an entire soundstage devoted to this one creature with all these cameras around, and it's mind-blowing, especially when you see them doing it, and then they'll give you they while filming this movie, I guess they must have just had like a slow speed camera in the background taking a photo every minute or 20 minutes or so or whatever, however long it takes to position everything before you take another snapshot, because it just shows these people moving around furiously at this high speed and the thing moving the way it is in the movie, and you're like, wow, that took them days and days and days to just get a couple of frames.
Did you notice the reference to Indiana Jones as well? When he first goes to grab the sword, he goes,
oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Great stuff. Anyway, they defeat the giant skeleton. And I wrote a lot of that out. Like,
by defeating it, you mean they just finally found the right sword?
They find the
pulled
right
it
sword,
out,
and that
which I did
it.
like as well, because it just like, it's almost like the sword was its power or whatever. You pull the sword out, and then the eyes go dead, and then it just immediately falls to pieces. Yeah.
I remember I forgot this element of it, and this is how they get out. But Beetle, right before all this, like learns that he's got wings and can fly, but he like poorly. So as they're falling, he sort of like reappears and takes them out. They go back out into the field.
Did you notice the weird fart noise when they go at the eyeball?
No.
When they pop out of the eye, it's all this stuff comes out with it, and there's a very small like noise but it's like also compiled on top of a ton of other sound effects. But if you watch it with headphones on, you'll hear the noise. You'll hear it. I promise.
Some sound designer was like, it'd be funny.
A fart noise.
Kids movie.
They're getting farted out of an eye socket of a skull.
As is tradition.
Yeah.
They end up on a beach at this point, right? And Monkey and Beetle are sort of fighting over like what we're gonna do next. They're at the base of long river. Can't cross it because it's long or something, or long lake.
Called the Long Lake.
Long Lake. And meanwhile, in the background, Kubo has learned, I guess, at this point, that he can make the leaves of the trees also act as like paper, and he builds this incredible ship. And the
leaf ship. It's cool as heck.
It's very
so cool.
And
it's kind of showing us that not only can he manipulate paper into origami figures, he can also manipulate, even during the fight with the skeleton, he manipulates all the paper to act as sort of like a cloud of daggers around the skeleton's head, blinding it. So he has all these different aptitudes for his abilities that you don't even really consider until the movie starts to move forward.
It feels like there's also a sense of his power growing.
Yeah,
right?
he's getting
Like,
stronger,
yeah,
especially when we get to the end, when he's deciding to fly back to the town. He's like at the peak of his power, and it's like
exactly.
all the banners are wrapping around him, and they create these wings, and you're just like, oh my god, this is like the end of Doctor Strange 2 when he uses all the ghosts as a cape or whatever.
It feels like he's leveling up throughout the movie, and we're just starting to see like more and more things that he can do, whether it's things that he never thought to do before, or if it's actually just that it's growing, so he's capable of doing more now.
Yeah, it's almost like he thought that, his power was only useful for, sustaining him and his mom in the cave to be able to eat. He was using it to entertain people, but it's like, oh yeah, you have a lot more usage out of this ability than you think, and one of it is
the ship.
You can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because the ship is leaves, but underneath there's like sticks holding it together too. Right?
Yeah, it's
like
not just paper. It's like,
Confess-
I mean, I guess paper is made of wood. Maybe he can just maybe he's a wood
maybe
bender.
it's a wood bender thing.
I think he is only limited by his imagination. I think at this point he's learning what he's capable of.
This is like
that ship is so cool.
It's a story of loss, comma,
and imagination.
Imagination.
Yeah.
Sorry,
like little Willy Wonka. No, I was just gonna say the ship was amazing. Like again, those fun little behind the scene things. I was seeing the construction of the ship, and they had to have, I guess, multiple versions because there's a point where it breaks down, and just how it breaks down in the water. So it's like you have this crazy leaf ship, in addition to having stop motion water, which again, unbelievable. Like, how do you do stop motion water? Like, how do you even do it? Is it like a sheet that's just kind of like
moving? Yeah.
I think I've asked every week. Every time that there's water, I'm going, but how?
How did they do this?
Since you told us, Tatiana, the capes are that like mesh.
It's a interlocked piano wire.
The piano wire
it's like
thing.
weaving piano wire.
I think that the ocean at the beginning of this movie, those giant waves, might have been something like that as well, because the big waves at the beginning of this movie, I've been miffed by since Steve made that opening video, because that's all I knew about this movie is the little bits that he put in. And I've been saying for weeks that this thing's going to change my life. Spoilers, it kind of did. I
was getting increasingly more nervous every time you would say that. I'm like, I don't know, he might be disappointed by this.
At first, when I was trying to figure out what the movie was, I was a little bit like, oh no, Steve tried to warn me that I'm not going to be mind blown by this as hard. But I was, because it plays to exactly what I love. Like, that
was also me sort of trying to subvert
my expectations.
Your expectations a little bit,
which I appreciate you for, Steve.
Yeah. Bring him down a little bit so that he can be just as excited as he was when he was originally looking at it.
Because the only times
sucks, actually.
You know how many times I've been a victim of overhype, especially with superhero movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. But since this thing is so special on its own. But like I said, like, how did they create those giant waves at the beginning? But there are parts in like Missing Link where there's literal water, but it doesn't move like water. It's almost like a clay or like a clear plastic or something that they're just moving.
Yeah, and there are definitely moments in all these movies where there is CGI that is implemented in order to do things that would be impossible to do, right? Like we're talking about the snow and stuff, which is not a knock at the movie. It's just you can't do it. Like, how would you do it?
Also, like the rainstorm, as we will eventually, we're close to getting to that scene with the ship in the rain, but like rain and stop motion would be so difficult. Even if you're CGIing the rain, like to do the effect of rain throughout the fight scene is.
They just take 100 years to make this movie by drawing each individual.
I just realized also I sort of have the same background as the Kubo poster.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You are Kubo.
You are essentially Kubo.
Yeah.
I have a sun instead of the moon.
Oh, the sun power. There's probably some story in the Kubo world of the sun god, and they're like, or mother of the sun or whatever, and she's not an evil prick. She's like, everybody have eyes.
Have too many eyes.
As you want.
Yeah.
We get a really heartwarming sort of family moment right before, like a scene, couple scenes before they realize they're a family, but they need to eat. Monkey's like, we're on an ocean. There are fish. Beetle's like, I'm a crack archer. And he shoots a fish, he teaches Kubo, who picks it up immediately, how to, archer a fish. and they're Kubo and Beetle are like miffed. They shoot the fish sinks. Monkey's like, "Are you guys dumb? Think about it. I got all this rope." They make like a fishing lure sort of situation with the bow. So you just shoot the arrow. They catch some fish. They make some nice sushi. It's a great little family moment that you only realize is a family moment on a rewatch, because at that point it's just like three misfit weirdos on a boat created by magic.
This is also when the two of them, the monkey and the beetle, start to act like they're flirtatious with each other, and it's like there's some sort of history there. So this is when you start to realize, like, oh, there's more to this than just.
But I also made I made a note here, not really grasping the fact that this like father son or father mother son, and it was giving a little bit of Alice in Wonderland sort of vibes at this point. But when you know on a rewatch what it is, it's nothing like Alice in Wonderland. Like, sure, it's like a hero's adventure sort of thing where you get some cast members in your party, but really it's more of a family story than Alice in Wonderland. And I know, Wizard of Oz. I wrote Alice in Wonderland, but I meant to write Wizard of Oz. And I know Wizard of Oz is technically her family members in a sort of a way, because it's like a dream world.
Yeah. I think the comparison
whole
is
brain
fair.
chemistry just changed when I realized that I meant to write Wizard of Oz, and it's
all right. We forgive you, Jason.
still Wizard of Oz.
We know what your point is.
I'm gonna just keep saying words till Steve is finally driven insane.
Yeah. Okay. We get it. You meant Wizard of Oz.
I find it very funny to watch the monkey flirt with Beetle, just because specifically the monkey's face with the flirtations is just so good. Like the way they get the facial expressions, it just feels almost wrong, because you're like a monkey and a beetle. Like, love is love, but
she's kind of into it when he's saying some dumb nonsense, and she's like, "Yeah, I feel you."
Tatiana's like, "Listen, you can love who you want. I just don't want them to get married."
I'm like, logistically, I don't understand monkey rhinoceros.
It's Adam
beetle.
and Eve, not monkey and beetle. Okay.
Well, this is like I guess again, like the power of the magic, right? And the magic being their love for one another, right? It's unbreakable, even though they don't know who one another is.
There's still that connection.
There's a bond, and there was a bond when we get a little bit further and we hear the story of how Monkey met Hanzo to begin with and how they fell in love. You sort of understand that connection exists on a deeper level, and you almost feel like, given if you were to give them enough time with one another, Monkey and Beetle, they would fall in love again, right? Like that's kind of, it's like it's meant to be, like they are soulmates, and it's cute and it's nice and it feels good, to realize that no matter how many memories are stolen from them, they will still find a way to come together,
to find each other.
And Kubo is the string attaching them all together. It's great. The third string
String theory.
Yeah, that's my string theory for today.
So one of the sisters catches up
with a sick weapon.
Beetle.
That's actually the weapon that I was going to be using in the Exalted campaign.
It's so funny. So is Cassandra.
Oh shit! I guess I'll have to change.
Maybe you'll have to discuss.
Yeah, I already drew my character. Did Cassandra? Friend of the show, Cass.
You just draw Cass with a different weapon. So that's your weapon. Use a bow staff. So
sorry.
Just really convince her to do magic. She knows she wants to.
Also, I'm not married to that weapon, and I didn't even realize that it was probably this movie that made me want to use those weapons as a character.
It's such a cool weapon. It's like you have that length. It looks like a climbing pick.
It looks like a scythe, yeah. Well, that was the whole reason behind it, is I wanted to have two of them and they look like little scythes, and my character like considers himself Death, and he's like, that's the reason he chose them. Is like, I'm like Death but littler, and I have two scythes instead of one.
Why did Beetle go underwater? I missed.
He decided that he had to go down and get the armor.
Okay,
and then he forgot why he was down there, and
and came back with a fish later. So
the fish that Kubo shot earlier, he's like, hey, I found the fish.
So while Monkey's fighting the sister, Kubo goes down to find Beetle. They immediately find the armor, which I thought was really cool. Like, they don't have to get to the they get to the point instead of like a whole thing, which I like, because the first one was like they went through a dungeon and found the boss, but this time it's a little bit different. It's more psychological. There's this crazy battle happening. The ship is being destroyed by Monkey and the sister battling. Beetle's gone, and these eyes start appearing, these crazy eyes, and they're showing Kubo sort of images.
The movie goes into horror movie again.
Yeah. And it's sort of through this is teaching Kubo though that Monkey is his mom, which is interesting.
But you're also learning that upstairs during the fight, it's like this coinciding revelation that Monkey is having about herself, that she is Kubo's mother, and Kubo is also learning that Monkey is his mother at the same time, and it's so good. It's like a really good storytelling device that, you know, it could have been just as satisfying to have one of those two things happen, but having them happen at the same time it's a little bit more powerful, and it also makes it more clear, right? Because we do know that Monkey was created by Kubo's mom, but we don't know that Monkey is Kubo's mom. I mean, it's hinted at, I guess, here and there, but we don't know for sure. And even the way that the eyeball reveals it, it's still not fully clear. It's just showing those three things connected to each other in some capacity, right? But Kubo understands it, and then it's made even more clear in a cool way too. It's not like a Darth Vader-y, no, you are Kubo's father or whatever. It's like she has the revelation rather than it being revealed to her via the sister or something. You know, like, don't you realize?
I wrote a Darth Vader-y thing for like when he meets the grandfather later, because it's a little bit that too. But at this point, I thought it was very interesting that like this monster uses like it hypnotizes you and pulls you into its like horrible mouth. And the funny thing is I was using those moments of it just showing the mouth to like take a quick note, because I was trying to like take notes. So I didn't really get the full gravity of like that mouth. I saw glimpses of it while I was like looking down and trying to like keep an eye on both. But when I watched it again today, I was fully like, I was engaged, man. Though that mouth.
You were hypnotized. You were falling into the mouth.
Yeah, it was so good. I love that trope of like being hypnotized by a monster and getting sucked into its gaze, like a succubus, or like the in Ghostbusters 2, Vigo of Carpathia, the painting. Like I love that horror trope of like the siren song, you know, the sirens. I love that. I thought it was very well done. The siren thing is good too, because it's also like an ocean creature, which this monster though was like I don't know, like a creature from the seventh dimension.
Yeah, it's like a Lovecraft monster.
I was gonna say super eldritch horror kind of.
Yeah, like an eldritch horror.
The eyeballs.
Gorath or whatever.
Yeah.
Cthulhu.
The puppets were made from bingo, you know, like the bingo tumbler, like size balls. So they were huge eyeballs.
Yeah, I was reading that that was also one of like the largest models that Leica's ever made, was this Cthulhu monster.
With those crazy teeth, like so many sets of teeth. They look so sharp.
Yeah, it looks like something out of a junkyard.
Yeah, it was
for shredding cars.
I
did want to like add, this is also kind of what you were saying earlier about the action sequence with the skeleton, but the action sequences in this movie, particularly the one with Monkey and the one of the
fight
sisters,
choreography in this sequence, I didn't really mention it, but it's so fucking good. Like it's.
Well, I wasn't even just going to say that it's good, because it is. We already know this. It's fucking amazing. It's like the best sequence in the movie. But the way they pace it and the way that everything is so deliberate, it's quick and it's exciting, but it's also like so deliberate and so well paced that you don't miss anything that's happening.
Yeah.
You know, one of the issues with like Transformers, as we were talking about earlier, or Marvel movies, is that there's so much junk happening on screen that you can't really absorb it or
Transformers
digest it.
is especially bad for that.
Yeah. You can't digest what you're seeing, whereas this, everything is framed so deliberately that every single moment of this action sequence is processed, but it also feels exciting and fast paced, but it's not so fast paced and so junky that you don't really kind of get what's happening.
And what's important is it's a massive exposition dump to the plot. This whole scene is a massive exposition dump to explain so many things that it doesn't feel like it's happening to you. But after, on the other side of this whole sequence, you have all this extra information that you didn't have before, but it was given to you in an entertaining way that didn't feel like two people talking and just like, oh, remember the time when this happened? Well, the reason for this is this, and then that's how it's explained. This is like a really exciting fight and a horrible nightmare happening, literally, like you said, upstairs and downstairs, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I cannot get over this whole movie and the way that it does storytelling. I think that future students of film, directors, could learn a lot from this style of storytelling. And then on top of that,
current directors.
But then on top of that, it's stop motion. So it's like they could have done one or the other, but they did both and made this masterpiece. Steve, I was going to ask you, usually we talk about this during the director segment, but do you have like some numbers for this movie? Do you know how much it cost and how much it made?
I do. It unfortunately did not make as much as it should have, but it was budgeted at 60 million and it made 77.5 million. So not great, but
they made this for 60 million, and the last like 4 Marvel movies were $100 million flops.
Yeah, but I mean, for some reason this movie didn't catch the numbers that Paranorman and Coraline did, and unfortunately Missing Link did even worse than this. Maybe the next one will do better, who knows. I think this movie, what it had going for it that something like The Missing Link doesn't, is the character design is so fun. Whereas in The Missing Link, there's only really one fun character design, and that's the Yeti himself, or the Bigfoot himself. Everyone else is just kind of whatever. This movie, every character is fun. You know, they're all cool, they're all fun. Beetle is amazing with his 4 arms and just the structure of him and all the funny things that he can do. It's very toyetic, right? You could make these things into toys and people will want to buy them.
His puppet looks like a giant action figure. So yeah.
But even like, you know, the sisters, the monster at the end, all of these things would be amazing toys, or statuettes or whatever. And I think that's something that The Missing Link didn't have going for it. But also it wasn't enough to bring in, you know, the numbers that we want to see in 2016.
So I was actually looking because I know this movie got nominated for quite a few, actually I think all the awards for the animated movie.
Yeah, including Best
2016.
Picture,
but I realized that what it lost to the most was usually Zootopia. So that came out the same year. And I think Zootopia was also a very kid-friendly movie that dealt with, like, you know, a lot of things about like racism and different things like that. So I think maybe there was some attention really heavily on, I think it's Pixar, right? Zootopia?
I think it was Disney. Yeah. But I mean, Disney and Pixar are the same now at this point.
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe there was like a sense of overshadowing in terms of like what people maybe were more interested in seeing.
Definitely. I think that Zootopia, in, like you were saying, what its themes were dealing with was, especially at that time, far more important. You know, the themes in this movie, though they're very good, it's not dealing with something on a societal level, but it's like, you know, it's still an amazing story and it's a beautiful story. I personally like this movie better than Zootopia, but I mean, Zootopia is fine.
You know, it's tough. I love Zootopia. I think it's a wonderful movie, but I will say now after watching this, I like this one much better, but I think it's because it feels a little more adult.
Yeah. And Zootopia didn't make me weep. Into my microphone.
No, but I did listen to that Shakira song for like a whole year.
The end of this battle is fantastic. When like there's like a back and forth between the two. The sister gets her claw into Monkey in this bit. Monkey's
wounded.
Monkey's wounded. Monkey's trying to go for the sword. Monkey
Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey gets the sword, I suppose, because one of the best shots of the movie is the mask cut in half, floating down underwater. I thought that was
such a good way to evoke violence without actually showing violence, because your imagination is like, oh, her head got cut in half, probably.
I thought her whole body got cut in half. That's that's how I read it.
That's an unbreakable sword. You can run that right through a person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is like, you know, these movies, they have some sort of like some heightened violence that you don't really see too much in other movies. But they find creative ways to have you be like, oh man, that's brutal, but without actually showing anything brutal.
It's very. I was just saying it's very like kids anime way to do it. Like
where you don't really
style.
have any blood. I think that's the secret. If there's no blood, there's not really. It's just like
there's no violence.
Violence.
Dragon Ball.
You know what I always say, if there's no blood, there's no crime.
Jesus Christ.
And I think it's just like how messed up your brain is from other things you watch that you fill in what actually occurred. Yeah. So somebody that says a whole body cut in half, Steven thinks it's just the head.
Yeah, I thought it was just her head got cut in half.
I thought it was just her mask. So clearly.
I thought she just cut her mask off and she was fine.
Monkey met Hanzo is the next note that I wrote. Tells a story about the night they met. Monkey's mother, you are my quest. Okay, so that's the story about. So Monkey like remembers everything now at this point. Is that what I am?
Yeah, she's telling the story because she now remembers she's Kubo's mother. So she's explaining how she met her father.
I must have meant this is the story of how Monkey met Hanzo in the first place.
A beautiful story. She's like sent there to like take him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
three of them.
It's in origami.
They're triplets, right? I assume.
I'm assuming they're triplets.
Yeah.
Or she's the older sister and they're both like middle younger.
Right. Or older and wiser. She is it is origami, but it's made out of flowers instead of instead of paper. But the story is basically that the three of them were sent to kill Hanzo. Hanzo being on the quest to find all the artifacts to kill.
Hanzo is Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, he's old man Link, and they have a fight. The two of them, the mother and father of Kubo, in which Hanzo, his quest is to find these items, but during the fight he realizes like, the quest isn't to find these items. You are in fact the quest has led me to you, and now you are my quest, which you could consider problematic, I suppose. But I think if you think about it as him sacrificing his quest for something else that he now cares for, like a quest doesn't mean, in the context of this movie, I think
conquer.
I don't think it means to obtain a trophy. I think it means like his ongoing quest in life is to like make this other person happy. If you look at it that way, it's not problematic.
Also, I think it's like
it's very incel.
And she was like, "Hey, I like this," so then maybe it's okay. But I'm also such a sucker for a callback to a line like that.
Yeah.
So damn, if that didn't also make me cry.
Yeah, and it's underlined later when Monkey is dying and he realizes who he is, and he's like, you are my quest, and it's like, my quest is to protect you and make you happy and love you. Like, that's very nice. And it's
my
also
quest is that I'm such a nice guy, milady, that you are my quest. That's a joke.
Jesus Christ. Is that how you proposed to your wife?
Yep. At the Grand Canyon, I said, listen, Madison, you're my quest, lady.
You're my quest.
You're my quest. You really can't say no. So let's do this.
Also, you're on the edge of a canyon right now. So,
so you have to say yes.
Some of that is true. I'll let you decipher what.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that there are different ways to read it, and obviously, like you can put your own stamp on what you read from it.
As like they felt like they battled, they met wits, they fell in love, and it was just sort of a nice thing, like a poetic thing to say.
Yeah, maybe she was paraphrasing. There was actually like 4 to 5 months of dating after the fight.
Yeah,
where they both realized they were into each other.
No, this is a story.
Yeah, it's like mythical.
It's also like a mythical story. That doesn't happen over 4 or 5 months. That is instant, right?
It happens immediately.
Fight. He knocks off her mask. He's like, "Wow, you're actually beautiful," and then bam, done. She was like really impressed with his like skill at fighting her.
But also she says that like she saw this like compassion and warmth in his eyes that she'd never seen before, which, we know in the story that they're not supposed to be able to feel that. And it's like the first time she ever felt anything from looking into somebody's eyes before. So that's how you know it was magical.
That's how you know. But the grandfather found them, and she had to escape with Kubo after the grandfather plucks out one of his eyes because he wants to make Kubo like him, blind to humanity. Moon King is an evil Nazi. That's my hypothesis.
Okay. We're gonna have to bleep that word every time you say it.
Nazi, okay? I think.
Also, Kubo cannot see because he's missing an eye.
Uh-oh, hot dog.
I'm so interested. Like, what did they do with the eye? Like, is it ground into dust? Is it like a?
Mm-hmm. He snorts it. He grinds into dust.
Doesn't fucking party rail.
A Kubo rail.
Does he eat the eye?
Maybe just
they don't really explain. At first I thought that he wanted his eyes to like put into something like in Coraline or whatever, right? But then it's like no, he just wants to take his eyes. It's almost like he just takes them and hucks them away or something.
Again, just to blind him. Honestly, I only have seen the two, so I've only seen Coraline and Kubo, and I was like, clearly there's an obsession with eyeballs. Eyeballs and mothers.
And moms and eyes.
Those are the two.
The other two Leica movies that we did don't have too much. I don't think they have any eyeball stuff.
No eye stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know,
I mean, Paranorman can see ghosts.
Can see ghosts.
That's his whole deal. But they don't take anyone's eyes. Also, Henry Selick is just obsessed with eyeball stuff. He always has weird eyeball stuff going on in his movies. Yeah. So anyway, let's move on.
So that
shall
night,
we?
Kubo has a little dream about an old blind man.
We finally get to meet Ralph Fiennes.
He's like obviously his grandfather. This was where I was like, okay, stop fooling me, movie. I know now, because I was fooled too many times. You're not going to fool me again. And he basically is like, you have to claim the helmet. And you have to claim your kingdom. And I wrote, I think that was the Moon King. Thanks, past me. They venture on, and everything seems good. Did you guys notice how like comically good everything feels in this next little sequence of them traveling? Of just like everything, they're joking around. You know, the mom and the dad are flirting. The son has his parents back. You know.
Well, we do have the one moment that Monkey is realizing like she's going to be gone soon, and Hanzo then says, you know, like I'll take care of him when you're gone. Don't worry, and like your memory is going to live on for forever as long as people are telling your story. You won't die, and Kubo will remember you.
My next note is, I hope a bunch of horrible stuff doesn't happen. And of course,
but I think the reason that everything is so jovial up to this is because we're about to hit that horrifying moment, and so you want everybody to feel good so that you can tear them down to the point that they are going to cry.
Yeah,
I think they're like Kubo's riding high on the fact that like he still has his mom right now, right, in whatever form that is.
And Monkey is now, realizing that she has to be. She now knows she's mom as well, so there's this nicety going on there. But then she also realizes that she's going to go, so she has to, give Kubo at least a little bit of time of happiness with her. And Hanzo is now revealed to be, like Kubo's protector. So now she has no reason to be a jerk to him anymore.
So
happy family
time. They travel up to like into sort of a town where we get a shot of the spider insignia that is on, Kubo's jacket, Kubo's robe, who was of course Hanzo's robe previously, which we learned earlier in the movie. And they get to this building, and painted on the front of the building is a picture of his mom, and I guess his Hanzo, who is his dad now. This is where I started to put everything together, like really. Like I know it seems dumb now in retrospect, but watching this for the first time, I was like ready to get swerved by everything. So it was a really big revelation for me to see that and realize at that moment that Hanzo is the dad in, I guess ghost form, until we find out what he actually is in a few minutes. And throughout the house, they find pictures of the monsters and pictures of the family. And I wrote, Beetle is Hanzo, isn't he? That's why Monkey and Beetle are flirting. That's at the moment note that I wrote down. And the other sister arrives at this point. They go into the little courtyard.
Yeah, it was a trap. Yeah,
it was a trap.
Set by Grandpapa Moon Man,
the Moon Boy.
The Moon Man.
Why would he trust his dream grandfather? You feel like he'd be like, this seems like bad news.
Yeah, Kubo's a little bit too naive at this point, but you know,
He's also a child. We have to sometimes
he's
remember.
he is he's like a little kid, and he's got his armor and his sword. He's feeling good. Maybe he suspected it was a trap of some sort, and that he would have to deal with something, but he would still get the helmet. Nope, nope. Ralph Fiennes is not a good man.
No, Ralph Fiennes always plays a Voldemort in everything he plays. They fight the sister. The sister actually ends up killing Monkey and Beetle. It's another great fight, but we can kind of just like gloss over it because it's just a well done fight that ends in the demise of Monkey and Beetle, which really sucks.
This is where we also get the revelation that Beetle is Hanzo, and
The sister's the one that tells them, kind of in a scoffing way.
Yeah, like a classic movie villain. She reveals that, like, oh,
right?
You idiots, you didn't even figure it out yet. You guys have been traveling together as a family, and you don't even know. And
how delicious.
Yeah, she just like loves to. She knows she's about to kill them, so she's taking even more time to. She like takes the little Hanzo and scrunches him up and like with telekinetic power, I guess, and then reforms him into a beetle to be like, yeah, we took out all your memories, and we turned you into a monster. How do you like that, Hanzo? And Hanzo's like, what the heck?
What the heck are you
I didn't know.
about?
I didn't know.
Fucking just stabbed in the back for his problem.
We got the voice.
Yeah. I didn't realize I was a beetle.
So Kubo does unleash a huge attack on the sister and gets her. And the origami Hanzo's final dying breath points to the location of the helmet and gathers his gear. And now, as Kubo's leaving to go get the helmet.
So in a lesser movie, like a DreamWorks animation movie, this is the point where he would look at that and then it would like transform into the town, and then we get a montage of every time you saw the helmet, because those kind of movies don't trust their audience to put shit together.
But instead, do you know what we get? Do you know what we get instead?
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
Sorta. Again, sort of. When he puts the other string on his arm, I went, and the two strings!
Oh my god, there's two of them there!
Yeah, he picks up the draw from the bow, like the string from the bow, and ties that. He's got his two strings, picks up like his broken, what's the guitarist's name again?
Shamisen.
The shamisen. Picks up the shamisen.
Got one string left.
It's got one string left. Not even.
No, it has one left.
It does? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's him.
Right.
The other two strings are broken because his parents are dead. Those are the two dead strings. Kubo and the two dead strings.
He got them back, like knowingly had them back for like all of 40 seconds.
Yeah, it's crushing.
And your heart breaks for this boy.
While he's saying like, he's like, father, and he's like, my son, and then he gets stabbed in the back like while he's having a dad speech. Yeah, it's crazy.
But which was a very heavy moment for me, because you're right. But in retrospect, if you look at it, if you think about it, like he had all that time with them. You know, so at least,
but I mean, he's
that
just
realization.
Yeah,
right?
It's like he's processing it while he's processing that this Beetle Man is his dad. The Beetle Man dies. It's like while his mom is dying too.
It's like that moment of happiness, and then just it's taken away. So it's like all that possibility gone.
He's gonna need to find a good therapist, I think, to really compartmentalize.
Oh wait, Kubo uses the two strings to kill the ant.
Yes.
Like blows her into bits or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when he said the name of the movie in the movie himself.
Yeah. He levels up again.
He levels up again.
He can just disintegrate people with his
Yeah. So he flies off back to his hometown where the helmet was the bell that rang every night. And I wrote, fuck, that's good storytelling. The townspeople are still there, and he tells them to go hide in the rubble even further. He has all the parts and summons the Moon King. It was the Dream Man after all. Force Ghost Moon King tries to Darth Vader bring him to the moon side. Was a note that I wrote. Steve. They do battle, and it's insane.
Join me. Give me your eye.
Give me your eye. Join me.
We could rule the moon as
world.
Grandfather and grandson.
He gets blasted back, but with his like sort of final moments, he restrings the guitar with the two strings and his own hair.
Yes.
He summons all the dead and casts a protection spell.
I think it would be more appropriate to say he summons all of the loved ones of the villagers.
Right, he doesn't. Okay, he doesn't summon an army of the dead. He summons all of the ghosts of the loved ones of the village who had been almost sent. Now, this is a moment where I noticed that, or I recognized that they didn't fully send their loved ones on during that festival, because back then, as they're going down the river, when the sisters appear, all of those lights go out. So I thought that was a cool little touch, which I didn't really notice till the second time through as well. The best part about all of this is through this sequence, this is where we're getting the like giant evil koi carapace having worm ghost monster.
Right. All of those things, yeah.
All of those things.
The Moon King.
The Moon King.
The Moon King. And basically they use their power of love to blast the Moon King out of his monster self back into reality.
Well, I mean, what it seems like is he's using the power of the memory, because I thought the theme throughout is like memories are the most powerful type of magic. He's using the memories of all these loved ones as like a purifying energy that essentially, I guess, like nullifies the Moon Man's memories in some way, but it like takes away all his moon power, which is why I read the moon being a sliver at the end as like a crescent moon. All of that other energy is gone. It's been swept away by the memories of these loved ones, and Kubo gives him like a tiny sliver of what he had in order to not die. He also gives him one eye, the power of sight. So I think he's given him one eye, which I'm like, is that Kubo's eye that he got taken away? Maybe he gave him Kubo's own eye so that he could see into people's souls and have some compassion and empathy for love, just have love for humanity where there was none before. And then the entire town gaslights him into being a good guy.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I kind of looked at it as kind of like he took away a chunk of his memory. That's absolutely true. And that's not the nicest thing to do to someone. And then as a town gaslights, they're trying to fill it in as being like, hey, if we can convince you you're a good person, maybe you'll be a good person.
One. Yeah. But that's the most unique defeating a monster overlord final boss I've ever seen. It reminded me a lot of like in the game Earthbound, at the very end of the game. So in Earthbound, you put your own name into the game. It's like this prompt comes up about halfway through. It's like, what's your name, the player? At the very end of the game, it starts to talk to you while you're fighting the final boss. And it's like, now ask the townspeople how they feel. Do they have the power of love? And this reminded me of that. It's like they used the power of love from the people of the town to all get together and use their love power to not kill this guy and turn him into dust or turn him into a double force ghost or whatever. But instead, they wiped his memory of the evil and replaced it, because Kubo, it's like a redemption thing. Everybody gets redeemed in this story. You know,
the sisters.
Yeah, they get killed.
Sisters fucking get cut in half, but
they got killed.
They're pure
disintegrated and sliced in two.
That's actually a really good point. Like, why did they?
Right? Why kill the sisters if you're not going to kill the moon god? That was my only gripe with this. I was just like,
that's why we need a prequel.
If you're willing to kill the sisters, why not kill the big bad that probably shaped his children to be this way?
To be evil. But also, like, if you think about it, they stole all of the memories from Hanzo, and he still managed to be who he was meant to be in the end. So it's like, is grandpa gonna remember stuff or just be naturally evil? Like, they're all being like, you are the nicest person in the village, and you go around giving people bread and money. And he's like, really? You taught my children how to swim. And he's like, I don't think I would do that.
That seems weird because I have a...
1 year down the road, he's like taking eyeballs out of people.
Yeah, that seems weird because I have a latent hunger for eyeballs.
Yeah, and I also prefer drowning children to teaching them how to swim.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it kind of reminds me also, I'm rewatching the Avatar Last Airbender. And just like at the end as well, where Aang is just kind of in a situation where like everyone is telling him he has to kill. He has to kill this person. He has to kill this person. He has to kill this person. And he's like, to his core, he's like, no, there has to be a better way. So I don't know. Maybe Kubo's just like, there's been enough death I have lost all of my family except you.
Yeah.
As bad as you are, can I make you better?
You just flooded back Avatar for me. I haven't seen that since it was like on, but I loved Avatar.
I'm rewatching it. I can't help myself. I've been sick. I've watched all 3 seasons.
Really? Are you watching it so you can like?
I've been sleeping through most of it and then having to go back a lot. So
I'm doing that with Curb Your Enthusiasm right now, where it's just kind of on in my house all the time.
It's a very comparable show to Avatar.
Yeah, they're the same show. Larry David's like, ah!
Larry David is the Avatar.
He's got the arrow on his head.
All 4 elements of comedy.
Racism.
That's the only one.
Yeah. He's a racism bender. Anyway.
So like I was also wondering if he didn't mean to spare him, and because it seems like he's surprised and kind of, like
not he was
revolted.
Ready to fucking sword him.
Yeah,
the power of the healing town was like, no, we'll bring him in.
But I mean, maybe it's like that power, because it's coming from a sense of pure goodness and love and memory, is like, you can't kill somebody with that, but you can remove all of the negative energy and anger and malice that is in a person and just take it away, nullify it. And if that's the case, cool. But then Kubo does also agree to, tell him the story of his life up until that point, because he's essentially lost all his memories. And you're like, okay, so Kubo's maybe he'll tell him the truth. Who knows, right? Like he could be like, before this, you were a despicable, horrible monster, and you have the chance to change. That's interesting to me. I don't know if like lying to him was the great idea. Have you ever played a video game where that happens to your character and you find out? It's usually never great.
Quick side note. The gory details are rating us right now with 7 raters. Hello and welcome. I guess we missed it because it's still showing 5 people watching. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, hello, the gory details. Look, we're getting the chat's lighting up.
Whoa,
we got 10 viewers in the house. How's everybody doing?
And then we get another George Takei line finally. Or Takei, is it Takei? Did I say it wrong? Yeah. After almost 50 minutes of him not saying anything, you're like, finally, he's back. And then the movie ends with not as happy an ending as you would expect from a children's movie. It's still pretty bleak. You get his parents as Force Ghosts. Yeah, another Star Wars connection.
With the lanterns being pushed again, you're just kind of like, oh, again, sobbed. I was like, no, it's not fair. He deserves his parents.
Yeah, I mean, you are kind of tearing up with the excitement and the overwhelmingness of like him agreeing to reinstate his grandfather's memories, or retell them, I guess, with a sweet origami show, I assume. And you're already kind of like on the edge of tears at that point, and then you get this ending, and you're not crying for the same reason you would be crying at the end of a Disney movie, for example, where everything is so happy. It's like still sort of tragic, and you're like, man.
I have this thing when I listen to like classical music, like if I'm in a live orchestra, I'll just get this like overwhelming, like my eyes get like, it's not it. The ending of this movie had a different kind of cries at the same time. Obviously, it's sad and happy, but also the intensity got me really hard. And I like the movie, the credits were rolling and I was just letting myself cry, not like trying to stifle it or like, I don't need to, you know what I mean? I don't need to cry right now. I was like, I'm letting this happen because
Jason puts on the Mulan soundtrack, Be a Man. Be a Man.
I was thinking of, my grandmother passed away in 2020 during like right at the beginning of COVID. It couldn't process it properly because of COVID. Then my grandfather passed away last year, and that had a weird like tinge to it because there was a bunch of family stuff around it, so I couldn't really process that properly. And I think this movie being such a story of loss and such a story of like reconciling your own feelings towards loss, I had a real like moment, like authentic moment when they sort of are standing together and he sends them off and he says, da 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 da, and that's the story of Kubo and the Two Strings, and he goes, the end. That fucked me up. That fucking broke my brain. Frisian. That's right, gory details. I had Frisian. And you're absolutely right. I get Frisian from Final Fantasy music exclusively. and Chrono Trigger music, and also Earthbound, as I mentioned previously.
That's music is supposed to do that to you. So
I got frizzed. I got frizzed up, as the kids say.
Is that a play on Riz?
Yeah,
I'm still learning.
You're drifting frizz. I'm dripping with frizz.
I frizzed my pants. Nope.
Bricked up with frizz.
Bricked up with frizz. Thank you for reminding me of the word frisson. And then the credits, of course, has the Regina Spektor version of As My Guitar Gently Weeps. And I was able to gently weep as the credits rolled. But during these credits...
They put that song in there so that everybody felt okay about how much they were crying at the end of the movie.
You can cry to Regina Spektor.
I have. One time
I saw it in
drowned.
4D, and instead of spraying water at you at the end, they sprayed a bunch of tissues. Like, here, take these. You'll need
Clean
those.
yourself up.
Yeah. And get out.
But then the credits have like the making of so many of these like puppets. So what a cool way. So you're crying, but then you're like, this is really cool.
This is so interesting. Just having your tears away.
Thanks, gory details.
Yeah. I love that they do that too, because there are so many questions you have in stop frame animation where you're like, how did they do that? And they're like, we're not going to hide it. We're going to show you a couple of the more interesting moments, Monkey doing the roles. And they do the same thing with the missing link as well. So
show me the hard work that you put into this. Like there's so much, like, I think that's the coolest thing about like frame by frame or like the stop motion is that like every scene is deliberate. It's not like you're doing, I'm assuming, reshoots. Like you storyboard everything ahead of time. So it's just like so exact.
Yeah.
Everything that's going to happen. It's just such a cool way to film a movie or to create a film.
It is, yeah. Animation in general is like, it's overly worked before in the pre-production, right? When it comes down to planning, because it's so much more expensive to have to reanimate something than it is to have to reshoot something. So it's like mega meticulous, but it's worth it because that much planning means you're not really going to make a mistake. And if if the story is good on paper, generally it's going to translate well, right? And you don't have people improvising on set, changing things, and you're not like, oh, I have a new idea now because of somebody's improvisation on set today, and it changes everything, so we have to reshoot a bunch of stuff now. It's like, no, we recorded all the dialogue 5 years ago, so it's done. We're good.
We're doing it this way.
So we can get George Takei, and that's it.
Well, I mean, even if imagine they had to do like
Asian-inspired movie.
Imagine we had to reshoot anything in this movie, and they had to animate something at the end of the process, and then they had to go back and get the kid who played Kubo to redo his lines.
He's now 45.
Yeah, exactly. Like 4 years later, his voice is like 7 octaves
What's up,
deeper.
guys?
I'm Kubo. Yeah.
I'm Kubo and the 2 strings.
And these are my 2 strings. He's got a full guitar now. Like,
I can't die in a place
electric
like
guitar.
This. Yeah. Well, that's the movie. We do have a couple of things that we like to do around here before we actually get out of here. We didn't have a theory corner this week, but I believe we do have a little bit of this action.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think the Home
Alone
of
is
it all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone of
I
it
really
all
gotta
happens?
know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
Simply
So
put,
that one I picture a bunch of Muppets of me with different voices.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I've always pictured. Simply put, the Home Alone of it all is the part of the movie Home Alone where Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprint on the table and he gets ready to sort of have Harry and Merv come in and attack the house, and we watch them go through all the traps. The reason I came up with this theory is because like some movies, like you want to go see the movie for that particular thing. Steve sort of evolved that idea by saying, it could just be like the trailer moments, like the reason you watch the trailer is the reason you want to see the movie. And we've learned that sometimes it's just the third act. But as far as the Home Alone of it all for this movie, Tatiana, do you want to hit us with yours? Because I know that you were saying that you kind of, I told you this early in the week. Normally I don't reveal my secrets, but what's your Home Alone?
I had to ask because I wasn't sure. Okay, so I have 2. One is a bit of a joke one, but for me, serious. Charlize Theron, just hands down. We'll watch any movie she's in. And then the second, I think it's right at the beginning. I think it's like literally the opening with Kubo being in the town doing his story. And just, I feel like that scene was just so visually appealing and just so out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. I feel like that would immediately grab you. personally.
I get that. I can agree with that. My Home Alone of it all was when basically the mom defends against the sisters and the screen goes white and Kubo is like on his adventure now. But I do have sort of a second one that's like once he like equips the two strings, you know, and is like now it's
the end of the movie.
The two strings. Yeah. Steve?
The curse of going last. I think that it's probably as soon as the sisters start whispering Kubo in the forest, I'm like, oh god, here we go. Now this is the Home Alone of it all. Because up until this point, everything has been mysterious. You haven't seen anything. You've only heard about it from Kubo's mother and, you know, the warnings that we get. We see Kubo's magic, but we don't see any powerful magic. And then we all of a sudden see this extreme dark magic. And, you know, I already knew what these things were going to look like from the trailer, but I can imagine if you didn't know what they were going to look like, it would be quite shocking. And you'd have that pit in your stomach being like, okay, these guys are clearly bad, clearly evil sisters. And it's when the movie starts to get exciting in a different way. The movie was already exciting from the moment you see her cut that wave in half with a musical note to him, creating an entire puppet show out of origami using his music. But this is when the movie gets spooky and exciting for a completely different reason. So that's my Home Alone of it all.
Excellent. Well, with that, we are of course going to play the final game of the evening. Are you guys ready to play a little MPAA game?
Yeah.
I didn't ask what this one was.
I didn't ask for this.
It's time to play Guess the MPAA.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the greatest game that ever existed on the internet or around the world. If you're going to blink, do it now. This is, of course, the MPAA rating game. What you have to do is, well, guess 3 numbers. The reason why is because every movie has a certificate rating, okay? The certificate rating implies that it's been rated by the MPAA. None of that is useful information to you. Forget it immediately. What you have to do is, I'm going to give you 2 numbers. You have to give me the 3 numbers that come after that. You each get 2 guesses. Just to show you, Tatiana, I'm going to have Steve go first. Steve, the first 2 numbers, hold on. The first 2 numbers, doesn't matter. The first 2 numbers are 4, 9.
4, 9, 6, 1, 6.
Higher. Tatiana.
4, 9, 9, 9, 9.
Lower.
How much lower? 4, 9, 8, 1, 8.
Tatiana, higher.
4, 9, 9, 0, 0.
Oh no! This is what happens when you lose.
Oh.
Jason farts at you.
I just tried something from my butt.
Sounded like a chainsaw.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. The number, that's, you know what? People circled the drain on this. It's crazy. It's 49911.
What? I was gonna guess that, and then I didn't.
When I said 499, was I you were like, she's really close, like she could do this right now. Yeah.
I think
so what was I guessing? Just a random number?
No, it's the MPAA. There's 5. It's a digit.
It's just like each movie that's rated
has
gets a number.
Rating,
Got
I
it.
guess Jason
that
will explain
number,
it.
It's that number that comes up at the bottom of the screen with like the globe and the little number. And every movie has had one since like the 1930s or something, whenever the MPAA was created. And
It's just like when they get an R rating or an M rating or
so
like that kind of thing.
the certificate rating is that it's been rated.
Yeah.
It came from our old co-host, like, just wanted to say the number, and he eventually wanted to do the first movie or whatever. And when he left the show, I was like, I was still doing it. I was like, what if we gamified it? And now it's this nightmare fucking train wreck.
Where
of a
we'll
hellscape.
never, ever gonna guess
Ever.
it.
Tim likes it, though. Tim, friend of the show, guest of the show, fan of the show, Tim likes it. So there you go, Tim. Nope, that's not the one I meant to play.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA.
And also,
Wow.
that's funny to me.
Wow.
We've gotten to the end of the show. We're gonna get out of here real soon. So let's.
It's time for our final thoughts.
And just like the beginning of the show, the end of the show is the same. Our guest, of course, will go first, as I have declared. Tatiana, please, what are your final thoughts for this movie? And if you have like a rating, like a special rating that you'd like to give it, whether it be serious or not so, please enlighten us.
My rating would be 3 strings out of 2. And my final thoughts would be just watch the movie. I honestly did not know that this movie existed. I'm so happy that I got to see it. I think it's a beautifully done movie. I think it's beautiful in the story of like family and loss and love, and all in this beautiful backdrop. And I think I am now in love with Leica Studios, so I will be continuing the other 2 movies. Eventually 3.
Yeah. Well, there is a third one out already, Box Trolls, which we only have 4 in a month, so maybe we'll do that one day.
Awesome. Thank you, Tatiana Ramos. Not Ramos.
Nailed it.
Ramos. All right, Steve, give us your final thoughts for the movie Kubo and the 2 Strings.
Kubo and the 2 Strings. It's great. I think out of the 4 Leica movies we did this month, it is one of the best in terms of a perfect example of what you can do with stop frame animation. Like you were saying, it can be confused for, just regular computer generated animation. That's how good it is. But it's just so impressive. But beyond that, the storytelling is very simple while also having an air of complexity to it, which I appreciate. But it's not overly worked. It's not overly complex. It can be compared to a video game at times. It's like, you're collecting your quests for your item, or sorry, your item for your quest, your items for your quest. There we go. Words go in specific order, and then they make sentences. Yeah, I mean, I can keep talking positively about it, but I think it is probably higher on the Leica list than some of the other ones, but not by much, because I love all of these movies so gosh darn much. Kubo as a character, he's feisty, he's funny, and he knows how to swing a sword and play a guitar, which is really cool. If I had to give it a rating, I would give this rating a full set of glowing armor, but it glows on its own and it doesn't need the light of the moon on it. It's free from the moon. No moon required for this stuff to glow. It's great. Kubo and the 2 Strings.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. One of the best tales of dealing with loss I've ever seen. I can't believe I never saw this. It has every element I love. Practical stop motion. That's sort of a new love, gotta say. That's sort of a this month new love. Amazing storytelling, Japanese folklore, and phenomenal music. The cast worked really well with McConaughey and Charlize Theron shining. The credit sequence was incredible, with the Japanese version of My Guitar Gently Weeps, and a bit of the stop motion process, which we talked about. I don't think I can really find any other flaws other than it should have had more Japanese actors involved. I missed it up several times with how powerful it felt as a fan of like Japanese media, and I fully cried at the end. Well, my guitar gently weeps. Powerful movie, everyone should see. I give this movie a 5 out of 5.
Whoa!
Wow.
The rare 5 out of 5.
It's a super rare 5 out of 5. I think the only other, like, I give basketball a 5 out of 5, but that's like a dumb 90s comedy. But I think the only other real 5 out of 5 I've given is like Castaway. I
think that this movie resonates differently with different people as well, right? So
yeah,
5 out of 5 is fair, yeah.
I also give this movie remembering all those you've lost and holding them close no matter what you've lost.
Poetic rating.
This was special. This movie is special to me. It's rare that I rewatch a movie like the next day, and nope, don't want to get DMCA'd. Tatiana, thank you for coming on. You were an excellent guest. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Is this when I say, "Hey, did you see this one?"
Not yet. Do you have anything that you want to like promote, or do you, or do you
Oh
like,
no, nothing on my end.
Do you have a message for the world, even?
Oh, wow! Way to put me on the spot and make me feel like I have nothing to tell the world. Don't go outside. You get sick if you go outside.
That's true.
It's terrible.
I agree.
That's a great message, especially in
this
weird week where it's like winter now, I guess.
It's been crazy.
In addition to that, I just want to remind everybody to please follow us on all social media. You can find us at Hey Did You See This One on literally like every platform. I've backed off some of the like tertiary program apps. Like I don't really do Threads or X, Twitter or Mastodon or Hive anymore. We do have a presence there, but it's not worth it. Just follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find us every week here on Twitch on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And with that, Tatiana, I have a question that needs asking.
Yes.
There's a question we ask each and every week. Could you help us out with that?
Hey, did you see this one?
I hope it's fucking playing this week. It's playing.
Well, that was fun. I'm gonna go watch this movie again and cry some more.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really cry, except for movies. I find it cathartic. So yeah, it's nice to know I have another one in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, your cry closet.
It's my cry closet. You'd be surprised at what's in there.
Yeah, you go in there and you're like, all right, if you gotta blink, do it now.
Stopped.